Chapter 1030? Published at 19th of June 2022 1:18 and 31 seconds p.m. Chapter 1030. 1030 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1030. Perfect physique. What's happening to Yuan? Why is his body steaming? His skin is also red, almost like his blood is boiling. Chu Liuxiang exclaimed after seeing the sudden changes to Yuan's body. Don't tell me that it was caused by the perfect tempering ginseng? I thought treasures acquired inside the stairway to heaven won't affect one's body for real. Lan Yingying muttered in a dazed voice. I have also never heard of this before. Just what is happening to the young master? Feng Yuxiang had a profound frown on her face as she thought about the implications from the situation. Meanwhile, steam continued to gush out of Yuan's pores like boiling water in a kettle, quickly filling the room and turning it into a sauna. Although nobody there could see it, significant changes were benign made inside Yuan's body. His muscles moved around as though they were alive, and his bones altered their own shape, becoming bigger and more sturdy. His blood rushed throughout his body, feeling adrenaline like never before. The perfect tempering ginseng was not only altering his body and fixing all of its imperfection, but it was also strengthening his bones and muscles at the same time. One would expect intense pain from the changes happening inside Yuan's body, but besides feeling a little hot, he felt not even the slightest of unpleasant feelings. Suddenly, the golden symbols that had embedded itself inside Yuan's body began emanating a profound light that made his body seem as though it was being protected by a layer of divine aura. His spiritual veins and dantian suddenly began expanding in size, becoming wider and allowing his spiritual energy to circulate throughout his body multiple times faster. And while Feng Yuxiang and the other spectators couldn't see it through the reflection, Yuan's cultivation was actually starting to decrease. His peak Spirit Lord cultivation quickly lowered to the first level, but it did not stop there and continued until it reached the first level of Spirit Grandmaster. Several more moments later, his cultivation went down to Spirit Master, and it would not stop until his cultivation reached the first level of Spirit Apprentice. However, despite his cultivation lowering, Yuan's aura did not weaken at all. In fact, it even skyrocketed, becoming many times stronger than before. Over the next several days, Yuan would sit in the steamy room without moving a single finger, almost as though head turned into a statue. The Huang family didn't dare to disturb him even though it was getting close to the tournament. The tournament is in 2 days, yet he's still holed up in his room. Hopefully he doesn't miss the tournament, Huang Shaoli sighed. The perfect tempering ginseng is a miracle treasure that can turn even a trash cultivator into a dragon amongst dragons. I cannot even begin to imagine its effect on someone who was already a dragon to begin with. Huang Qin shook his head. I guess we'll find out when he, Huang Shaoli stopped speaking when an unfathomable pressure suddenly enveloped the entire building. Who is emitting this pressure? Everyone in the hotel was shocked by the pressure that came out of the blue. The pressure was so powerful that it made it hard for everyone in the hotel to breathe properly. Fortunately, this pressure disappeared as quickly as it appeared. However, even though it was just slightly, everyone that had a taste of this pressure would not stop trembling in fear. Meanwhile, inside his now clear room, Yuan slowly opened his eyes, which glimmered with dominance. He took a deep breath and stood up. I've gotten taller. My body feels as light as a feather, and my body is constantly absorbing spiritual energy even without needing me to do anything, almost as though I am cultivating just by breathing. Yuan looked at his own hands. My cultivation had somehow weakened to Spirit Apprentice, yet I feel even stronger than when I was a peak Spirit Lord. Is this also because of the perfect tempering ginseng? But Huang Qin didn't mention anything about this. As he tried to comprehend the situation, his cultivation actually increased, reaching the second-level Spirit Apprentice. However, he did not get any notifications from the system, nor did his stats increase. Despite that, he could somehow still feel his body getting a little stronger. Forget it, there's no point thinking about it now. I'll ask Tian once I finish this trial. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Yuan left the room shortly after. Why Yuan? Is that really you? Huang Shaoli's eyes widened with shock when she saw Yuan. His appearance had changed so much that everybody there instantly recognized it the moment they saw him. Not only did Yuan get taller, but his face was also much more refined and handsome, not to mention his body, which looked flawless even underneath his clothes. Heavens! You're almost like a different person, Huang Qin mumbled in a dazed voice after seeing Yuan. Huang Shaoli approached Yuan until she was standing right in front of him. Why you grew half a head in just a few days? Is this the effects of the perfect tempering ginseng? She exclaimed. After swallowing nervously, she asked in a trembling voice, "Did you mind if I touch your body for a bit?" Yuan smiled, go ahead. Huang Shaoli didn't hesitate and started squeezing his arms and legs with her hands. Wow! What perfect muscles! They feel soft yet firm at the same time. How is this possible? She cried inwardly as she squeezed his muscles as though she was kneading dough. Looks like the perfect tempering ginseng worked like a charm on you. Huang Qin smiled. Yes, and it's all thanks to you. Yuan bowed to him. Don't even mention it. Huang Qin shook his head. Huang Shaoli suddenly exclaimed, wait, what happened to your cultivation? Why are you suddenly a spirit apprentice? What? Huang Qin's eyes widened with shock after hearing her words. He narrowed his eyes at Yuan and sure enough, his cultivation was only at the 3rd level spirit apprentice. However, before he could even say anything, Yuan's cultivation suddenly increased to the 4th level right before his eyes. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1031. Published at 19th of June 2022 1:18 and 29 seconds p.m. Chapter 1031. 1031 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1031, Perfect Physique, 2. Oh yeah. I'm not sure what happened, but my cultivation was reduced to spirit apprentice after consuming the perfect tempering ginseng. Yuan casually said, leaving them speechless. How can you be so calm about this? You just went from being a peak spirit lord to a spirit apprentice. And the tournament is in 2 days. Even if you have a perfect physique, you won't be able to do anything in the tournament. Huang Shaoli exclaimed. The perfect tempering ginseng reduced your cultivation? That's impossible. The treasure has no such side effects. Huang Qin exclaimed in a panicked manner. After all, he would be responsible for Yuan's lost cultivation since he was the one who handed Yuan the perfect tempering ginseng. Calm down. Although it's true that my cultivation is gone, my body feels a lot stronger than when I was a spirit lord. If you don't believe me, you can try hitting me. As for my spiritual energy, it won't take much effort for me to return to my original cultivation base. Yuan explained to them. Are you for real? You feel stronger even though your cultivation was reduced to such a state? What kind of phenomenon is this? Huang Shaoli mumbled in a dazed voice. He nodded, go ahead. Hit me with your strongest attack. I will even remove my armor. Yuan removed his invisible dragon cloak and gestured for Huang Shaoli to hit him. However, Huang Shaoli was hesitant to strike a spirit apprentice with her cultivation. Don't worry, I will be fine. Yuan showed her a confident smile. She suddenly recalled how Yuan was able to defeat a giant with his raw strength. Don't blame me if you die from this. Huang Shaoli shouted at him before unleashing her strongest martial technique backed by her full cultivation base. Ha! Huang Shaoli plunged her palms directly into Yuan's chest. Boom! The entire room shook for a brief moment from the impact, yet Yuan remained standing in the same spot without moving even a millimeter. No way, Huang Shaoli muttered with a baffled look on her face. See? I told you. I barely even felt your attack just now. Yuan said with a gentle smile on his face, treating Huang Shaoli's attack as though it was a baby's playful punch. Does this mean you'll still participate in the tournament of strength? Huang Qin asked. Of course. He nodded. Very well. Then you must restore your cultivation as soon as possible. If you need any help, we have plenty of treasures. Yuan raised his hand and gestured for Huang Qin to stop. You have already done enough by giving me the perfect tempering ginseng. The tournament is in 2 days, right? Then I have plenty of time. If you say so. Huang Qin nodded. Yuan returned to his room shortly after to cultivate. My cultivation speed is at least 4 to 5 times faster than before. At this rate, I should barely return to being a spirit king right before the tournament. Thus, Yuan would spend the next 2 days cultivating non-stop. Meanwhile, in the spectators' room, Chu Liuxiang mumbled in a dazed voice after seeing Yuan's new appearance. My God. I didn't think it would be possible for Yuan to become even more handsome than he already is, but he's exceeded my expectations. Meishu didn't say anything, but her gaze when looking at Yuan was akin to a young maiden who was falling in love for the first time. Li Jinsi swallowed nervously after seeing Yuan's new physique. In her eyes, that was the most attractive part of him, and she couldn't help but imagine how it looked underneath his clothes, causing her mouth to become watery. As expected of a legendary treasure, only the perfect tempering ginseng could possibly create such a miracle. Feng Yuxiang sighed, feeling a little dejected that she couldn't get a closer look at the treasure. Hey Meishio, do you think this treasure will affect Yuan's real body? Chu Liuxiang asked Meishio in a low voice. I don't know. But considering how powerful the treasure is, I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. I'm going to check his body. Be right back. Chu Liuxiang logged off cultivation online before Meishio could even respond. After removing her helmet, Chu Liuxiang turned to look at Yuan, who was sleeping right beside her. He doesn't seem any different. Maybe it takes some time before the treasure affects his real body? Chu Liuxiang returned to the spectator's room shortly after. Nothing yet, but I won't lose hope just yet. Chu Liuxiang said to Meishio. 2 days later, Yuan stopped cultivating and opened his eyes. Peak Spirit Grandmaster, huh? I am on the verge of breaking through to Spirit Lord, so I might have a breakthrough during the tournament. Yuan thought to himself after inspecting his own body. He left the room to meet up with the Huang family afterward. We're all ready to go. What about you, Yuan? Huang Chen asked him. I am ready as well. He nodded. Good heavens, you've managed to increase your cultivation from Spirit Apprentice to Peak Spirit Grandmaster in just 2 days? Just how monstrous are your talents? Huang Shaoli was baffled when she saw his cultivation. Yuan and the Huang family left the hotel and started making their way to the location of the tournament. Although they didn't know where to go, they only needed to follow everyone else in the street, as they were all going the same direction. After walking for almost 2 hours, they would eventually arrive at a massive square where a single colossal stage existed in the center. However, there were so many giants in the square that all of the humans there had to fly if they wanted to see anything. Not far away from the stage there was a large platform supporting a colossal throne, where a handsome giant with golden hair sat. Of course, this man was Giant Emperor Kulis, and he had a bored expression on his face. However, that changed when he noticed Yuan's presence somewhere in the crowd, and a wide smile appeared on Giant Emperor Kulis' face. Show me a grand performance, Tian Yang. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1032. Published at 20th of June 2022 8:07 and 56 seconds AM. Chapter 1032. Chapter 1032 Ancestral Tablet. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1032, Ancestral Tablet. While Yuan waited with the Huang family for the Tournament of Strength to begin, countless players in the Spirit Heaven were busy looking for the treasures that Yuan had hidden for his event. Even though it has been over 2 weeks since Meishio revealed the location of the treasures to the world on behalf of Yuan, only half of the treasures had been found, so the treasure hunt was still in progress. In fact, the players' excitement and passion only grew stronger with every passing day. However, because of this seemingly innocent treasure hunt, thousands of players have died to other players because whenever a treasure is found, there would be a massive war to acquire it. Although it was never Yuan's intention to cause such chaos, what's done has already been done, and nobody blamed him for the chaos. Bastards. I found this treasure first. Get your hands off me. Nonsense. It doesn't matter who finds it first. The last person to hold it will be the rightful owner. The residents of Spirit Heaven were dumbfounded by the commotion caused by the players. In their eyes, most players were rouge cultivators, and it was not normal for so many rouge cultivators to gather in one spot, so they couldn't help but keep watch of the situation. When the residents of Spirit Heaven realized that the players were looking for treasures, they also joined in on the fun. Even though Yuan was no longer in Spirit Heaven, he was still causing mayhem there. Meanwhile, Chairman Li was laughing his ass off as he watched the chaos from a safe distance. Since Yuan had given him special treatment for his help, he didn't need to fight for any treasures. I am truly thankful to Chairman Zhao for his foolishness. If he didn't offend Yuan, I wouldn't have taken his place and became friends with Yuan. Chairman Li laughed out loud. Of course, Chairman Zhao was not the only one who had received special treatment. White Lotus, Xia Jingyi, and Yuro also received their own divine-grade treasures. About 10 minutes after Yuan arrived at the square with the Huang family, Giant Emperor Kulis stood up from his throne and swept the crowd with his profound gaze. The noise in the square immediately died down, and everyone there turned to focus on Giant Emperor Kulis. Welcome to the Tournament of Strength, where the strongest warriors in the Giants continent are born. In the Tournament of Strength only one thing matters: your physique and raw prowess. Giant Emperor Kulis' voice rippled throughout the whole city. There are only 3 rules in the tournament. 1. You are not allowed to step on the stage with any treasures on your body. We have uniforms prepared for all participants. Besides this uniform and your own body, you will bring nothing else onto the stage. For the second rule, you are not allowed to use any martial techniques during the match. The only technique you are allowed to use are body enhancement techniques. In other words, anything that doesn't directly affect your body is strictly forbidden. Last but not least, you are not allowed to consume any kind of medicine or pills during the match. Before the match begins, you are required to consume a body cleansing pill, which will remove anything unnatural affecting your body, so any pills or treasures that you have consumed beforehand will be rendered useless. If you dare to disobey these rules and cheat before my presence, I will personally rip your head off your body. Did I make myself clear? Giant Emperor Kulis narrowed his eyes at them. Yes, your majesty. Everyone responded in a clear voice. Now then. As for the qualifications to participate in the tournament, I don't care if you're a human or a giant, if you can create even the slightest crack on this ancestral tablet, I will allow you to participate in the tournament for a chance to acquire the title of Colossal. The next moment, Yuan watched as two massive giants wearing golden armor carried a large black boulder onto the stage. Even though the boulder itself was smaller than either one of these giants, it required two of them to carry it. The ancestral tablet is made out of the most durable material that can be found in this continent, and it has a special property that gives them extreme resistance against spiritual energy, essentially making them invulnerable to all spiritual attacks. However, that doesn't make them vulnerable to physical damage. Not only are they durable against spiritual energy, they are also incredibly durable against physical damage. In order to participate in the tournament, you must strike the ancestral tablet with nothing but your fist and make a crack in it. Simple, right? Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Everybody there was left speechless by Giant Emperor Kulis' last words. Even though the task sounded simple, it was actually an incredibly difficult requirement that will eliminate the majority of people there today. I have one more announcement before we begin the qualifiers. Giant Emperor Kulis suddenly said. And he continued, the winner of this year's tournament will not only receive the title of Colossal and a mythic rank body refinement technique, he will also earn the right to take my youngest daughter as their bride. What? Several people there exclaimed in a shocked voice after hearing such words. Giant Emperor Kulis has a daughter? Yuan raised an eyebrow. In the midst of the commotion, a figure suddenly appeared on the stage. This person was an unbelievably beautiful woman with long golden hair and a pair of emerald eyes, but she did not have the physique of a giant. Yuan's eyes widened when he saw this woman on the stage. C1058. She was the giant emperor's daughter all along? Huang Shaoli exclaimed beside him. Indeed, this woman turned out to be CMA who had accompanied them to this city. Greetings, warriors. Just as my father said, I will consider marrying the person who will bear the title Colossal for the next 100 years. CMA spoke in a gentle voice as she swept the crowd with her gaze, stopping when her gaze met Yuan's. When that happened, a bright smile appeared on her face. This woman. Yuan shook his head inwardly, wondering why he didn't realize her true identity sooner when she had the same features as her father. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1033. Published at 21st of June 2022 8:29 and 11 seconds AM. Chapter 1033. Chapter 1033 Ancestral Tablet 2. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1033, Ancestral Tablet 2. Good heavens, the winner of the tournament will have a chance to marry Princess Maya? This means that the winner will not only become the next Colossal, but he will also join the royal family. This is a once-in-lifetime chance. The giants there were extremely excited. Princess Maya? Is that her real name? Huang Shaoli mumbled in a pondering voice. Forget about her name. I am more interested in her figure. Yuan suddenly said. Her figure? So you like women with that kind of body, huh? Huang Shaoli said as she stared at Maya's hourglass body. Huh? Yuan raised his eyebrows. No, that's not what I am talking about. I'm wondering why her physique resembles that of a human when her father is that massive. I heard that female giants naturally have a smaller frame than male giants. Furthermore, I doubt that's her real size. The royal family has a body refining technique that can alter their body size. Huang Qin explained. I see. That's why Giant Emperor Kulis shrunk in size when I saw him again. Sometime later, those who wanted to participate in the tournament started testing their strength against the ancestral tablet. A 21-meter-tall giant stood before the ancestral tablet and punched it with all of his might, causing the entire thing to tremble. However, that was all. The strike was strong enough to make the ancestral tablet tremble, but it wasn't strong enough to cause any damage to it. Impossible, the giant muttered in a dazed voice as he stared at the spot head just punched, seemingly in disbelief. Get out of the way, you weakling. The giant behind him suddenly pushed him aside and punched the ancestral tablet as well. Dong. The ancestral tablet shook violently. The giant removed his fist from the rock with a confident smile on his face, but when he couldn't see any cracks on the ancestral tablet, his complexion paled. Ah! Don't open your mouth if you have no strength to back it up. Get out of my way. One by one, both giants and humans would take their chances at the ancestral tablet. However, even after going through hundreds of participants, not a single person has managed to damage the ancestral tablet. An hour later, someone finally managed to damage the ancestral tablet, and it was a female giant. As she really did it, she cracked the ancestral tablet. The judge overseeing it announced after seeing the small crack on the rock. Shortly after the female giant cracked the ancestral tablet, the damage actually restored itself until it looked brand new. What interesting material. Yuan thought to himself, and he imagined making an armor out of it. Sometime later, after thousands of people had gone on the stage, Yuan finally decided it was his turn to approach the stage. However, the moment he stepped on the stage, Giant Emperor Kulis' voice resounded, "You don't need to qualify for the tournament, Tian. You'll participate in the tournament regardless of your result." Yuan turned to look at Giant Emperor Kulis with raised eyebrows. Is he the rumored rival of His Majesty? I heard about him. Me too. I wonder how strong he is. The people there mumbled to each other. Even if you say that, I want to test my strength. Yuan suddenly said. Giant Emperor Kulis narrowed his eyes and pondered for a moment before silently nodding his head. Yuan approached the ancestral tablet the next moment and prepared to strike it. After taking a deep breath, Yuan punched the ancestral tablet with all of his strength. Boom. The entire arena shook when Yuan's fist landed on the ancestral tablet. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. It was clear to everyone there that Yuan's strike was the strongest thus far. However, when Yuan removed his fist from the ancestral tablet, everyone was shocked to see not even the slightest crack on it. Giant Emperor Kulis narrowed his eyes at the ancestral tablet. Not bad. A smile appeared on his face for some reason. Yuan stared at the rock with a pondering face, and without saying anything he turned around and walked off the stage. Looks like we have overestimated that human. He couldn't even do anything to the ancestral tablet. He doesn't qualify to participate in the tournament, but since His Majesty gave him special treatment, he'll still be able to enter. How unfair. The giants there complained amongst themselves in a low voice, especially those that had failed to pass the qualifications. They despised Yuan for being allowed to participate in the tournament even though he clearly didn't qualify. However, nobody there dared to complain out loud. Sometime later, after several more people struck the ancestral tablet, the 13th person to go after Yuan's turn shocked everybody there with his results. He shattered the ancestral tablet. How is that possible? Holy heavens! I have never seen anything like this before. Who is that man? His prowess must be near His Majesty's level if he could destroy the ancestral tablet. The spectators were in shock. It was not just the spectators. Even the person who destroyed the ancestral tablet appeared to be quite shocked by the results. Unbeknownst to these people, Yuan's strike had destroyed the core of the ancestral tablet during his turn, severely weakening the ancestral tablet, hence why this random person was able to shatter the rock even though his strike wasn't anything out of the ordinary. Of course, Giant Emperor Kulis was aware of this, but he didn't say anything. What should we do now, Your Majesty? The ancestral tablet is broken and it'll take some time to prepare a new one. The judge asked him. There's no need. 40 people have passed the qualifications. That is more than enough. We will end the qualification here and begin the tournament. Yes. Once the stage was clean again, Giant Emperor Kulis called all 40 participants onto the stage. The majority of the participants were unsurprisingly giants. As for humans, there were only 4 of them that had qualified, including Yuan. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1034. Published at 24th of June 2022 4:18 and 20 p.m. Chapter 1034. 1034 If audio player doesn't work, Press stop then play button again. Chapter 1034 Number 3 All 40 participants stood on the stage after Giant Emperor Kulis announced the end of the qualifiers when the ancestral tablet was destroyed. The 40 of you will now fight against each other until only one of you remains undefeated. We will decide the matches through a lottery system. Giant Emperor Kulis snapped his fingers, summoning someone onto the stage. This person was holding onto a metal tray that had 40 storage pouches on it. Every storage pouch will have a number inside from number 1 to 20. Those that have picked the same number will be fighting against each other. Simple, right? Go ahead and choose your pouches. Yuan and the other participants went to grab their storage pouch. Once everyone had one in their grasp, they opened it to retrieve a piece of paper with a number on it. Number 3. Yuan read the number on his paper in his head. If your number is not 1, get off the stage. The judge on the stage said to them a moment later. Everyone there but the 2 male giants with the number 1 left the stage. The judge handed each of them a body-cleansing pill to swallow and a pair of white uniforms to change into. Once the pill took effect and they changed clothes, Giant Emperor Kulis signaled the beginning of the fight. Boom. The 2 giants on the stage immediately began striking each other with their bare fist, each of their strikes causing the stage to tremble and creating ripples in the air. Yuan swallowed nervously after seeing the fierceness of these giants. Compared to Sorgi, these 2 were on another level, perhaps several levels higher even. Iche, Yuan, are you sure you'll be fine? Each of their strikes feels strong enough to shatter a real mountain. Huang Shaoli tapped his shoulders and asked him in a nervous voice. Let's hope so, Yuan said with a bittersweet smile on his face. Despite having a perfect physique, he wasn't completely confident in winning the tournament, as he had underestimated the difficulty of it. Over the next 2 hours, the giants on the stage would repeatedly strike each other without stopping for more than a few seconds, almost as if they had unlimited stamina and their bodies were indestructible. Their bodies began turning red after 3 hours, and in the 4th hour the spectators could finally see blood being shed. Yuan and the Huang family expected the fight to end soon in their condition, but to their absolute shock, these 2 giants continued to abuse their bodies for another 3 hours. The whole fight had lasted 7 hours, and by the end of the fight, not a single bone in their body was left unharmed, with most of them shattered into many pieces. How in heaven's name will they continue to fight the next match in such a condition? Huang Shaoli mumbled to herself after seeing their broken bodies. It was a miracle that neither of them had died, but they were definitely on the verge of death. Winner, Warrior Kozus. The judge announced. After the fight ended, the judge handed both of the participants a pill that Yuan had never seen before. During the next few minutes after they swallowed the pill, their bodies could be seen recovering at a rapid rate, and by the end their bodies looked completely fine, almost as if the match had never occurred. While the giants healed their injuries, some of the servants went on the stage to clean the blood until it was essentially new. Once the first 2 participants left the stage, the next 2 entered the stage. This time, it was a giant against a human, a female human at that. However, nobody there dared to ridicule the female human, as she had qualified to stand on the stage by cracking the ancestral tablet, something the majority of the people there had failed to achieve. The 2 of them changed into a white uniform and consumed a body-cleansing pill a few minutes later. After bowing to each other, they started punching each other. The giant was over 20 meters tall while the female human was only around 165 meters. It was like watching an ant fighting an elephant. However, despite the difference in their sizes, the female human did not immediately lose to the giant and even gave up a good fight. Although the fight lasted only half as long as the previous match, it was still very shocking to the spectators, as the female human had actually managed to defeat the giant. Winner, Warrior Mu Shuriying. She actually won, Huang Shaoli muttered in a dazed voice as she stared at the tall beauty standing on the stage, her body soaked in sweat and blood. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. While the participants for the second match recovered their injuries, Yuan prepared to enter the stage. You're next, right? Huang Shaoli asked him. Yes, I am. He nodded. Then take this. I'll help you. Huang Shaoli suddenly retrieved a wooden box from her spatial ring and handed it to him. Huh. You know I cannot use any treasures before the match. Yuan raised his eyebrows. Just take it, she urged him. Yuan accepted the box and opened it. His eyes widened when he saw what was resting inside the box. Good luck, Yuan. Huang Shaoli said to him with a smile on her face. Yes, thank you. Yuan smiled back at her before absorbing the golden orb of light inside the box. After absorbing the orb of light, Yuan could feel his muscles becoming even sturdier. The next participants may enter the stage. The judge's voice resounded a moment later. He'll be right back, Yuan said to the Huang family before approaching the massive platform, and he could feel the gaze of everyone there staring at him. The moment he stepped onto the stage, the scenery began to change, and Yuan found himself back at the stairway to heaven a few seconds later. What a place to stop the trial, he sighed out loud. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1035. Published at 24th of June 2022 4:18 and 19 seconds p.m. Chapter 1035. 1035 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1035 Coolest, congratulations on passing the second trial, Master. Tian appeared before him shortly after he returned to the stairway to heaven. Yuan turned to look at her with a serious expression on his face. Tian, I have some questions for you before I continue the trial. Why did the perfect tempering ginseng affect my body even though that shouldn't be possible? Tian tilted her head and spoke in a calm voice. Why shouldn't it be possible? I get that I can learn techniques while inside the stairway to heaven, but the treasures affecting my actual body doesn't make any sense. Everything should be a simulation, so it shouldn't be possible to actually affect my body. A profound smile appeared on Tian's small face as she spoke. While it's true that the trials are all simulations created by the stairway to heaven, the treasures are actually real. The stairway to heaven is more than it appears. It's not only a bridge that connects the 9 heavens, it's also a vault full of treasures stored by the previous masters. Yuan's body trembled in shock after hearing Tian's words. The stairway to heaven is a treasure vault? He muttered in a dazed voice. That's right. However, only the master has access to these treasures, hence why nobody is aware of it. Tian continued. Yuan fell to his knees after learning the truth and coming to a realization. I could have acquired so many priceless treasures at the Colossal Tower, but I wasted such a chance because I assumed the treasures were fake. What a blunder! He cried inwardly. Wait. Even if I didn't acquire the treasures during the trial, the treasure should still exist somewhere in the stairway to heaven, right? Yuan suddenly asked Tian. She nodded and said, if you wish to have access to the vault, you'll need to continue climbing the stairway to heaven, as this place is also a training device for you. I understand. Thank you for the explanation. Yuan climbed the staircase shortly after, ascending to the third trial. This appears to be your final trial, Master? Tian said to him. Is this going to be a continuation of the previous trial? Or is it going to be something entirely different? Yuan closed his eyes and wondered to himself as the scenery began to change. When he opened his eyes, he found himself standing on a platform. However, the platform looked different than the last one he saw. It was much smaller and he couldn't see any giants around him. Yuan quickly noticed a figure standing in front of him. This person was a young man with long blonde hair that shone like gold under the sunlight, and he was a head shorter than Yuan, but he emanated an aura that was far superior. Yuan ignored this person for now to look at his surroundings, and he was immediately surprised by the scenery, as he appeared to be surrounded by clouds. Where am I? What kind of trial is this? Yuan wondered to himself. Ding. Coolest? Yuan raised an eyebrow upon seeing this familiar name. After realizing the situation, he turned to look at the young man standing not far away from him. Giant Emperor Coolest? Yuan didn't recognize him immediately because he looked much younger than the Giant Emperor Coolest from the previous trial, not to mention his size. Who the hell are you calling the Giant Emperor? Stop daydreaming and fight me already, Tianyang? Coolest shouted while pointing his fingers at Yuan. Yuan's eyes widened with shock. What is going on? Why does he look human? I thought Giant Emperor Coolest was born a giant. Is this the stairway to heaven messing with me, or is there something I am missing here? Coolest spoke again. Remember, no weapons or treasures. This is how a real man should fight, with their bare hands. He showed Yuan his fists and his arms that were bulging with muscle and veins. Yuan tossed aside all his questions temporarily and held his fists in front of him. Here I come. Coolest suddenly dashed towards him. Whoosh. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Coolest swung his fist at Yuan at lightning speed. What? The speed of Coolest strike was so fast that Yuan could only see a blurred arm for a split second before feeling intense pain in his body, as Coolest's fist had struck him directly in his body. When Coolest struck Yuan's body, it felt like someone had shot a cannonball at him. If it wasn't for his perfect physique and enhanced body, Coolest strike would have made a hole in his body. After being struck, Yuan immediately retreated to gain some distance. Shit. It hurts. Yuan nearly fell to his knees from the pain. What's wrong, Tian? You don't look so good. I have been waiting for this moment, the day that I will finally defeat you. Ah! Kulis laughed out loud. Yuan showed a bittersweet smile. Even with the perfect physique, this trial won't be easy. Here I come again. Kulis warned him before rushing at him again. I can't react to his strikes, so I can only endure them. Yuan activated the Golden Mountain body refinement and discarded all thoughts of avoiding, only focusing on attacking back. Whoosh! Yuan gritted his teeth and prepared for the strike. The moment Kulis' fist landed on his body, Yuan struck back with his own fist. Kulis' eyes widened with surprise after feeling the strength behind Yuan's strike. Not bad. Let's see how long you can last. Kulis shouted as he threw a second punch, then a third and a fourth. Yuan would tank all of Kulis' strikes with his bare body before retaliating with his own attack, and over the next few hours, the two of them would continue exchanging blows in such a manner, almost as though they were participating in the tournament of strength. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1036. Published at 24th of June 2022 4:18 and 18 seconds p.m. Chapter 1036. 1036 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1036 Kulis 2. A few hours have passed since Yuan and Kulis started battering each other relentlessly like crazy. Even though every strike was accompanied by intense pain, there was a smile on Yuan's face. The same goes for Kulis, who was smiling from ear to ear as their blood splattered all over the floor. I don't think I have the stomach to watch this. Chu Liuxiang turned away from the pond after seeing Yuan's bloodied body. Meishio was also having a hard time watching Yuan suffer such brutal abuse. However, Li Jinsi watched them with an intense gaze, almost as if she was completely absorbed in their fight. In fact, her gaze showed signs of envy. Despite the bloody scene, the young master seems to be enjoying it. In fact, he's even tempering his body with his opponent's attacks. Feng Yuxiang said. Didn't he already achieve a perfect physique through the perfect tempering ginseng? Why does he still need to temper his body? Chu Liuxiang asked. Xiao Hua then spoke. Just because Brother Yuan has a perfect physique doesn't mean he has an invincible body and no longer needs to train. Having a perfect physique just means that he has the ideal body for tempering his body, allowing him to progress faster than other body refiners. I see, Chu Liuxiang mumbled. The young master seems to be progressing at a rapid rate. In the beginning, his face would twist with pain every time he is struck, but his face barely moves now. He's not only gotten used to the pain, but his body is also strengthening to the point where his opponent's strikes are no longer as effective. It won't be long before the young master wins the fight. Feng Yuxiang explained further. Sure enough, after exchanging blows with each other for another hour, Kulis became the first to fall to his knees. You're a crazy bastard, Tianyang. No matter how many times I punch you, you won't go down, and it even seems like you're getting stronger. How is that possible? Kulis muttered in an exhausted voice as he knelt on the ground. Who knows? Yuan responded with a similarly exhausted voice. Of course, the only reason he was still standing was due to his perfect regeneration that would heal all of his internal injuries and more within moments after Kulis inflicted them. Anyways, this is your win. Kulis then said. Let's have another match. Yuan immediately said afterward. Kulis looked at him with wide eyes. Nah. Forget it. I won't defeat you even if we fight 100 times. Yuan was a little taken aback by Kulis' refusal. If he refuses to fight me, I won't get the special reward. I need to think of something quick. After pondering for a moment, Yuan suddenly showed Kulis a mocking smile. You're giving up just because you lost once? What a coward. When did you lose your spine, Kulis? If you're this pathetic, don't ever come to me for another fight. Kulis' eyebrows suddenly twitched. What the fuck did you just call me? He glared at Yuan with intense killing intent. Yuan continued to smile. A coward because that's what you are. If you want to fight so badly, I will fight you and make you regret calling me a coward. However, give me 3 days. We will start our second match in 3 days. That's what I am talking about. Let's have 3 matches. If you can defeat me even once, I will consider it your win. Yuan said. Then I will see you in 3 days. Kulis stood up and limped to the small building that was located at the edge of the platform. Does he live here? Where is this place anyway? Yuan wondered to himself. Once Kulis entered the building, Yuan sat down to cultivate. After recovering his injuries, he began walking around the edge of the place. It appears that we're somewhere in the sky, but what will happen if I try to leave this place? In order to satisfy his curiosity, Yuan flew off the edge of the platform and into the thick clouds. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. After flying straight for a few seconds, Yuan came out of the clouds and arrived at another platform. However, this platform looked exactly the same as the previous, not to mention the building in the distance and the blood on the floor. Yuan tried flying towards another direction, but he was still brought back to the same place. So I am limited to this place for this trial, huh? Besides the house that Kulis had entered, there was a small tree behind the building as well as a small pond that was filled with clear water. Yuan approached the tree and the pond. There was nothing out of the ordinary about the tree, but the pond was just deep enough to be used as a bath. Yuan narrowed his eyes on the water. Although the water looked ordinary at glance, he could sense a faint aura coming from it. After pondering for a moment, he placed a finger into the water. This water looks ordinary, but it actually contains an immense amount of spiritual energy. It's ideal for tempering one's body too. Kulis probably gave me 3 days for a reason, this being the reason. After realizing that the water could be used to temper his body, Yuan quickly stripped naked before submerging his body inside the water that happened to fit his body perfectly, and he began tempering his body with it. Meanwhile, in the spectators' room, the ladies' gazes were fixated on Yuan's perfect body. It wasn't obvious with his clothes on, but his body really underwent some major changes after consuming the perfect tempering ginseng. Chu Liuxiang could feel her mouth producing more saliva than usual after seeing Yuan's new body. In fact, everyone there except Xiaohua was ogling at Yuan's body at this moment, especially Li Jinxi, who appeared the most dazed out of everyone there. When Xiaohua noticed their odd expressions, she raised an eyebrow and asked in an innocent voice, "What's wrong with all of you? Is there something wrong with Brother Yuan? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1037. Published at 25th of June 2022 3:09 and 21 seconds p.m. Chapter 1037. 1037 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1037 Kulis 3. No. There's nothing wrong. The ladies in the room responded to Xiaohua's question with a somewhat rosy face. 3 days later, Yuan opened his eyes when Kulis came out of the building. "What are you doing? Get out of there and fight me. I'm ready for our rematch," Kulis said to him. "All right. Give me a moment." Yuan jumped out of the small pond and got dressed before going to stand in front of Kulis. "Ready?" Kulis asked with a confident smile on his face. His aura has improved tremendously in just 3 days. I reckon that he's at least 30% stronger than before. Yuan thought to himself after seeing Kulis' aura that made it seem as though the space around him was distorting. However, it was not just Kulis who had improved over the past 3 days. Yuan's physique also experienced significant improvements after tempering himself in the clear water. "Then let's go." Kulis suddenly stepped forward and punched his fist at Yuan. Yuan immediately activated Golden Mountain Body Refinement and stood still, letting Kulis hit him directly in his chest. A ripple swept the air after the impact, and Yuan could feel his muscles screaming in pain, but he endured it and retaliated with his own fist. The way they fought each other was the exact same as before. It was more of an endurance challenge than a proper fight, but neither of them complained. Kulis enjoyed fighting like this as it got his blood pumping with excitement. As for Yuan, he couldn't ask for a better training partner. His body would become steadier, more refined, and stronger with every strike, so he had no reason to complain. After 100 strikes, Kulis suddenly roared, and his body grew slightly larger. "This is..." Yuan's eyes widened with surprise after seeing Kulis' sudden transformation. A wide smile appeared on Kulis' face as he sent his fist flying at Yuan. Yuan, who had no intention of avoiding the strike, could feel an immense pressure coming from Kulis' fist. "Ah!" Yuan cried out in pain for the first time when his right arm was sent flying by Kulis' attack. "Yuan! Young master! Brother Yuan!" The ladies in the spectators' room exclaimed when they saw Yuan's entire arm fly off his shoulder after being struck by Kulis. Their faces turned pale, as they have never seen Yuan suffering such a grievous wound before except the time when he was in the mystic realm. Yuan jumped back to gain some distance from Kulis, who remained standing there with a smile on his face. He glanced at his severed arm that had fallen several meters away before turning to look at the injury on his body. What a powerful punch! Yuan swallowed nervously as he blocked his injury with his spiritual energy, preventing any more blood loss. Kulis suddenly started laughing. Ha! How do you like my... However, before he could even finish his sentence, Yuan's perfect regeneration kicked in, growing him a new arm within seconds. Kulis stared at Yuan with his eyes as wide as saucers. What the fuck did you just do? How did you just... Are you even human? Kulis exclaimed in a shocked voice while pointing at Yuan. Of course I am human. What about you? Is that the great mammoth body refinement that I have heard about? Yuan said with a smile on his face. So you already knew about this technique? That's right. I am currently using the great mammoth body refinement. It not only allows me to alter my body size, it even boosts my strength by a tremendous amount. As long as I am in this state, you won't be able to take a hit from me. I won this match, Tian. Keep dreaming. The match isn't decided just yet. Yuan rushed at Kulis after fully recovering from his injury. After tanking Yuan's hit, Kulis swung back. However, to his surprise, Yuan didn't avoid his attack like had anticipated. In fact, Yuan did the complete opposite by blocking the attack with his own fist. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Ack. Yuan gritted his teeth when he felt his muscles tearing apart and all of the bones in his arm shatter, and in the midst of Kulis' shock, Yuan used his other arm to strike back. Kulis retreated several steps afterward. Ha! As expected of my rival. You're full of surprises, Tian. Kulis laughed like a maniac as he rushed at Yuan again. Several hours later, Kulis knelt on the bloodied ground with a look of disbelief on his face. You're a freaking monster, Tian, he muttered in a low voice. I can say the same to you, Kulis. Yuan said with a smile on his face, but his entire body was soaked in blood, looking as if he'd just taken a dip in a bath of blood. It's not over yet, Tian. One more match. I have a feeling that I will be able to defeat you in the next match. Kulis glared at him with a confident gaze. Sure. Yuan nodded. 7 days. I will see you in 7 days. Kulis slowly stood back up before limping towards the building. Once Kulis disappeared inside the building, Yuan immediately entered the pond and began cultivating. 5 days later, Yuan opened his eyes and turned to look at the building with a frown on his face. Even though Kulis was still inside the house, his aura had grown to the point where it was leaking out of the building. This isn't good. At this rate, he'll definitely defeat me during our third match. Yuan sighed inwardly. However, there was no way for him to significantly increase his strength in the next 2 days. If I want to defeat Kulis in 2 days, I will need to use the golden aura. Unfortunately, he still doesn't have the capability to use the golden aura at will. Looks like I will have to force it to come out. Yuan swallowed nervously after recalling how painful it was afterward. However, he didn't have any choice. Thus, after mentally preparing himself, Yuan activated the Nameless technique. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1038. Published at 26th of June 2022 2:39 and 15 seconds p.m. Chapter 1038. 1038 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1038 Heaven's Supremacy. After activating the Nameless technique, a crimson aura began emerging from Yuan's body. He took several deep breaths before increasing the intensity of the technique. In the spectators' room, the ladies were shocked when they saw what Yuan was doing. Why is he suddenly using that technique again? Did he already forget about the backlash head received the last time he tried to use it? Chu Liuxiang exclaimed after seeing the crimson aura around Yuan. Who knows? I'm afraid that only he knows what he is doing. Meishu shook her head. Several minutes later, the deafening voice resounded inside Yuan's head. How dare you? Yuan coughed up a mouthful of blood after hearing this voice that shook all of his internal organs. You dare ignore my previous warning? Do you have a death wish, brat? Yuan gritted his teeth and tried his best to ignore the pain coming from all over his body. Oh, who are you? Yuan managed to mutter. I am above all that exists in this world. I am Heaven's Supremacy. Arg. The pain was so unbearable that Yuan fell unconscious before he could ask any more questions. Yuan. The ladies in the spectators' room were left terrified by what they had just witnessed. He's not dead, is he? Li Jinsi asked in a trembling voice. That's ridiculous. He can't die like that. Chu Liuxiang exclaimed. Calm down. Yuan is still alive. Lan Yingying suddenly said, and she continued, If you look closely, you can see that he's still breathing. He's just unconscious. I don't get it. What is the young master trying to achieve by harming himself? Feng Yuxiang stared at Yuan with a pondering expression on her face and an uneasy feeling in her heart. What about the trial? There's only 2 days left before that man returns, right? Meishiu asked. We can only hope for the young master to wake up. Feng Yuxiang sighed. Several hours later, Yuan slowly opened his eyes. Where am I? He pushed himself off the floor and looked around with a dazed face. That's right. Heaven's supremacy. The golden aura responded to me. Does it have its own will? Just what is heaven's supremacy? He pondered to himself as he sat on the ground. After pondering for some time, Yuan took a deep breath and sat in the lotus position with a resolute face. He then activated the nameless technique. The ladies in the spectators' room were left speechless by his actions. What is he doing? He's really doing this on purpose. Chu Liuxiang exclaimed. A few moments later, Yuan coughed up more blood, and the muscles in his body began squirming, almost as though it was alive. Aya! Yuan released a deafening roar as a golden aura exploded from his body, consuming the crimson aura. Insolence! If you continue this reckless behavior, I will really kill you. The ancient voice resounded once again. Lend me your power. I want to defeat Kulis. Yuan said with much difficulty. Only those who are worthy can wield the heaven's supremacy. You are not worthy. The voice boomed. If I am not worthy, then why are you in my body? Why was I able to use your powers before? By pure luck. SS. Bullshit. Yuan shouted. Although it was just for a moment, Yuan felt the pain in his body lessen. You don't have what it takes to use my power. You are too weak. You are not worthy. The pain in Yuan's body suddenly skyrocketed. Ack. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. He collapsed for a second time. A few hours later, Yuan woke up and repeated the same thing. You are not worthy. The voice boomed inside his head several minutes later, causing him to lose consciousness for a third time. After waking up, he challenged the heaven's supremacy for the 4th time, then a 5th and a 6th time. When he woke up for the 7th time, Yuan realized something. It's not as painful as before, and I am waking up much sooner now. Perhaps this is the secret to heaven's supremacy. An excited expression appeared on Yuan's face after realizing this. How much longer do I have until Kulis returns? Yuan looked around the trial, eventually noticing a timer above him in the sky. I have 12 hours left until Kulis returns. I must control the heaven's supremacy before then. He immediately began challenging the heaven's supremacy for the 7th time. 3 hours later, Yuan woke up after arguing with the ancient voice for over 15 minutes. After being knocked down for the 8th time, Yuan realized something else. The reason it's getting less painful is not because I am getting used to the pain. It's because the heaven's supremacy is not as rebellious. What? If I can understand why, then maybe I will. Yuan recalled the times Head used heaven's supremacy by chance, trying his best to remember what Head done before triggering it. Excitement. I was filled with excitement, and my heart burned with the desire to win. Could it be my desire to win that triggered it? No, not my desire. My will. Yuan realized that he became less afraid of the heaven's supremacy after challenging it multiple times, that his will had increased. It was at this moment another voice resounded inside his head. In order to control the heaven's supremacy, you must have an indomitable will. A will that will never submit. A will that will never waver. A will that is strong enough to overturn even the heavens. This voice sounded different than the ancient voice, yet it was very familiar to him. It was Tian Yang's voice. An indomitable will? A slight smile appeared on Yuan's face. So that's why it kept saying that I wasn't worthy. It was trying to make me waver. It was trying to mess with my will. Now that he knew how to deal with the heaven's supremacy, Yuan sat down and activated the nameless technique for the 9th time, and on his face was a tranquil expression that one would express when they receive enlightenment. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1039. Published at 26th of June 2022 2:39 and 13 seconds p.m. Chapter 1039. 1039 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1039 Heaven's Supremacy. 2. After sitting in the lotus position without moving or doing anything for several minutes, Yuan suddenly took a long and deep breath before releasing it. He closed his eyes and activated the nameless technique. A few moments later, the ancient voice resounded inside his head. You are not worthy. You are too weak. However, despite what the voice claimed, Yuan barely felt any pain in his body. My will is not strong enough to completely neglect the voice. Yuan thought to himself as he suddenly decided to enter the deepest part of his consciousness where his incarnations normally resided. However, Tian and the others were nowhere to be seen. Instead, he could see the outline of a massive entity within his consciousness, and it was emanating a subtle golden aura. Yuan remained calm as he approached this entity without fear. Are you the Heaven's Supremacy's true form? Even when he was right in front of the entity, Yuan was unable to see its true figure or appearance, almost as if it was perfectly blended into the darkness. You are not worthy. The ancient voice resounded again, but it was much calmer this time. If you truly believe that I am not worthy, then get the hell out of my body. Yuan said with a calm expression. S's be white. The ancient voice became silent for a few moments before returning. Did you not seek my power just recently? A power that doesn't listen to its owner is useless no matter how strong it is. Furthermore, I have the nameless technique. It's more than enough to replace you. The audacity, SS. The ancient voice boomed, causing the void to tremble. I am the pinnacle of strength. I am the pinnacle of techniques. I am the pinnacle of treasures. I am the pinnacle of all that exists. I am the Heaven's Supremacy. There's nothing in this universe that can replace me, much less some trash like the nameless technique. Yuan smiled and said, once again, even if you are the strongest power in existence, you are useless to me if I cannot use you, just like a sword with its blade or a gun without any bullets. If you refuse to submit to me, I will toss you aside like trash. Without me, you are also useless, just like a weapon without someone to wield it. Even the sharpest sword in the world won't be able to threaten anyone if it's not used. Even though the ancient voice had mumbled something inaudible, Yuan could somehow tell that it was frustrated. You have 3 seconds to decide. In 3 seconds, I will leave this place and forever ignore your existence. 1, 2. Yuan halted his voice when he noticed the massive figure suddenly shrinking in size until it was around the same size as him. Once the shrinking stopped, the entity began approaching him, allowing Yuan to get a clearer view of it, and to his surprise, this entity now looked more like a bulky human. Furthermore, this entity appeared to have 10 arms, 5 on each side. Oh, now what are you? Yuan asked with a slight frown on his face. You will eventually remember, but until then you can call me Shura. Are you the Heaven's Supremacy's will? The Heaven's Supremacy is merely a fragment of my power that I bestowed upon you. However, that does not mean it will listen to you. While the others have received its acknowledgement, you have yet to prove yourself worthy to wield its power. The others, as in my past lives? That's right. Even gods covet this power, yet you dare to threaten to toss it away. You're the first. I don't need a sword that cannot be used to defeat my enemies, no matter how sharp that sword may be. Yuan said. After a moment of silence, Shura spoke. Very well. Then I will allow you to wield the Heaven's Supremacy to show you what you'll be missing out on if you throw it away. However, you will only get 3 chances. If you do not receive the Heaven's Supremacy's acknowledgement after 3 uses, you won't be able to use it until you do. Visit Me for extra chapters. Don't disappoint me, brat. Shura's figure disappeared shortly after. However, right as Yuan prepared to leave the void, he heard footsteps approaching him from behind. When he turned around, he could see a familiar face standing behind him. I see that you have finally recalled Shura. It will only be a matter of time before you recall everything. Tian said with a profound smile on his face. What do you want? Yuan asked him. I'm just here to give you some advice. If you want to remember your memories faster, you should really focus on improving your cultivation. You've been a spirit lord for far too long. Tian said. He then tilted his head to look up into the void. You should wake up now. Don't keep our friend waiting. Outside Yuan's consciousness, Kulis stood before him with a frown on his face. If you don't wake up soon, I will toss you off this fucking platform. Kulis shouted at him. Yuan opened his eyes the following moment, his gaze emanating an otherworldly pressure. As he slowly stood up, his body exuded a golden aura that flickered like flames, making it seem as if his body was engulfed in fire. What the hell is happening? Kulis stared at Yuan with wide eyes, his confidence wavering. Are you ready for our rematch? Yuan asked him in a calm voice. Kulis swallowed nervously, but he still nodded his head. Damn right I am ready. Kulis immediately moved into action by attacking first. Yuan could tell that Kulis had become twice as strong as before, but his confidence and will remain unwavering. "I am possible," Kulis uttered in disbelief a second later, his movements completely frozen when Yuan caught his fist with a single hand. "Heads up," Yuan said right before punching Kulis square in the face with his other hand. Whoosh! Kulis' body was sent flying the very next second, his body slamming into the building in the distance, completely destroying it. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1040? Published at 26th of June 2022 2:39 and 12 seconds p.m. Chapter 1040. 1040 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1040 Heaven's Supremacy 3. No way? What happened to the young master? Why did he suddenly acquire so much strength? Feng Yuxiang was shocked after witnessing Yuan's prowess. It must have something to do with his golden aura. Every time it appears, his prowess increases tremendously, almost like my nameless technique, but even my nameless technique couldn't hold a candle against his mysterious technique. Li Jinxi said. A few moments after he was sent flying, Kulis dug himself out of the rubble and approached Yuan with a wide smile on his face. Not bad, Tianyang. But you'll need more than that to defeat me. Kulis suddenly roared, and his body began growing larger and larger, eventually becoming a 50-meter tall giant. Let's see if you can catch my fist with your hand now, Tianyang. Kulis laughed out loud as he punched at Yuan. The pressure coming from Kulis' fist was so strong that it pushed the clouds in the background many meters back. However, Yuan remained indifferent, his gaze completely tranquil. A hand? I don't need a hand to stop your attack. A single finger is more than enough. Yuan spoke as he pointed his middle finger towards Kulis' incoming fist. Boom. A massive ripple swept the place when Yuan's finger collided with Kulis' fist, sweeping away all of the clouds that surrounded them and revealing its scenery that was mostly a mountain range. You freaking monster! A terrified expression was on Kulis' face when he saw the results. Yuan had actually managed to block his fist with a single finger, and had done so without being pushed back even a single step. Heaven's supremacy. Remember it, Kulis, because that is what defeated you. Yuan said before throwing his punch at Kulis' fist that had stopped. Whoosh! Once again Kulis was sent flying. However, there was nothing to stop him this time and he was sent flying off the platform. Boom. The entire mountain range trembled when Kulis landed on the ground. A golden orb of light suddenly emerged from the pond that Yuan had tempered his body in, and it floated towards him. After absorbing the golden orb, a flood of memories gushed inside Yuan's head. This is Tianyang's memories. Yuan closed his eyes and digested the memories. I see. So this is how I met Kulis. A small smile appeared on Yuan's face as he recalled his rivalry with Kulis and how it all began. After he finished absorbing Tianyang's memories, Yuan turned to look at Kulis, who was still lying on the ground, seeming unconscious. I hope that you're still alive out there somewhere, Kulis. I still haven't fulfilled our promise, so don't you dare die yet. Yuan mumbled in a low voice. Unfortunately, the chances of Kulis still being alive at this moment was slim to none, as it has been tens if not hundreds of millions of years since he last met Kulis, and unless they were demons or an undying immortal who has reached the apex of cultivation, nobody could live for that long. Yuan returned to the stairway to heaven shortly after he completed his third trial. Congratulations, Master. You have completed all of the trials for this ascension. You can now travel to the third heaven. Tian appeared before him and said. The ladies in the spectators' room reunited with Yuan shortly after. Yuan, are you okay? Chu Liuxiang asked him in a worried voice. Why wouldn't I be okay? He smiled. You took a lot of beating during this trial? Yes, I did, but it made me stronger. A lot stronger. The stairway to heaven is not just a bridge that connects the 9 heavens, it's also a training ground. Anyways, now that we can enter the third heaven, let's go. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Yuan then said. Okay. The ladies there nodded. Please wait a moment, Master. Tian suddenly stopped them. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. What's the matter? Tian created a projection in front of her and said, The 7 legacy families and the G family have surrounded the stairway to heaven. You will be ambushed if you leave through the main gate. The situation outside the stairway to heaven in the third heaven began to materialize in the projection, showing Yuan and the others the situation outside. Yuan frowned upon seeing the ambush. The survivors of the 7 legacy families and the G family must have reported you to them. What should we do, young master? We can either wait for them to leave or we can go outside and kill all of them. Feng Yuxiang asked him. Yuan rubbed his eyes and sighed. Do I really have to spill so much blood the moment I enter the third heaven? I'd rather avoid fighting if I can. Because at this rate, we'll have to kill these families over and over again as we continue to ascend. If Master doesn't wish for a confrontation, I can make it so that you're teleported to a random location in the third heaven when you exit the stairway to heaven. This way, you will be able to enter the third heaven without encountering them right away. Tian suddenly said. A random location. So we won't know where we'll end up until we appear in the third heaven, huh? Yuan began pondering. Yes, that's the only way to enter the third heaven without being ambushed. Tian nodded. What do you guys think? Yuan asked the others for their opinion. I also would prefer it if we can avoid fighting, Meishio said. Me too, Chu Liuxiang said. The others agreed with Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. Since there is no objection, well, do it your way, Tian. Yuan said to her a moment later. I understand. Then I will teleport you outside now. Until next time, Master. Tian said with a smile on her face before sending them out of the stairway to heaven. Congratulations. Player Yuan has become the first player to ascend to third heaven through the stairway to heaven. Because of player Yuan's efforts, Spirit Heaven has re-established its connection with third heaven, allowing access for all players. All players may now enter the stairway to heaven and ascend to third heaven without any restrictions. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1041. Published at 27th of June 2022 2:18 and 12 seconds p.m. Chapter 1041. 1041 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1041 Player Massacre. Look. There's an announcement. The players that noticed the announcement quickly pointed at it. Third heaven is open. And it's player Yuan who opened it. The players were filled with excitement after seeing the announcement even though it hasn't been that long since Yuan connected Spirit Heaven and the lower heavens. The players began talking with their friends and their groups. Are you going to the third heaven? Hell no. Don't you remember what happened when this realm was opened? Everyone and their mother rushed to ascend, but they quickly realized that it was a mistake since they weren't prepared for the increased difficulty. Besides player Yuan, I doubt there are any other players out there who are capable enough to traverse the new level. Yeah, and we have barely scratched the surface for this level. They'll stay here for a few more months before I even think about ascending to the next level. No matter how illogical it may seem to ascend, there will always be people who don't care about the consequences or are too stupid to understand their situation. A lot of people will die in the next few days. Sure enough, when news about the third heaven spread online, countless people rushed to the stairway to heaven to ascend. In their eyes, even if it was extremely risky, the third heaven will have more opportunities than Spirit Heaven, and the spiritual energy there was much more plentiful, allowing them to cultivate faster. However, these players would soon realize what they were getting themselves into, that they were walking towards a death trap. Meanwhile, outside the stairway to heaven in the third heaven, the 7 legacy families and the G family were still camping outside, patiently waiting to ambush Yuan. It's been over a month since this Yuan entered the stairway to heaven. Do you think Head failed the trials and couldn't ascend? He probably died inside the stairway to heaven. I doubt it. We have people watching the stairway to heaven in Spirit Heaven. They would have notified us by now if he failed the trial. The leaders of the 7 legacy families spoke to each other as they sat down for some spiritual tea. Several minutes later, their bodies froze when someone shouted, "The stairway to heaven is opening. He's coming out. Get ready. Kill him the moment he steps out of the stairway to heaven." The head of the G family shouted, his voice alerting everyone there. The following moment, a group of people walked out of the stairway to heaven with clear excitement on their faces. Attack. Whoosh. SS. Boom. Thousands of cultivators launched their attacks at this group of ignorant players before they could even realize what was going on, and before they knew it, they were dead. The world shook for a moment from so many techniques going off at once. Did we do it? Did we kill them? We did it. We killed him. We have avenged our families. The people there celebrated when they saw the blood splatters. However, their celebration was cut short when someone suddenly shouted, "Wait! It's not over yet. There are more people coming out of the stairway to heaven." When the cultivators saw this, they immediately stopped celebrating to attack these innocent players that had no idea what was even going on. Wait, why were there so many people? The numbers don't add up. The cultivators realized this after killing the players. But alas, they weren't given any time to think as more players started coming out of the stairway to heaven. There are more of them. Kill them all. The cultivators stopped thinking and merely focused on attacking the players that came out of the stairway to heaven. It was a massacre, one that neither side understood. Within minutes of the massacre, the players that had been killed by the cultivators started warning the others online, and the situation spread like wildfire. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Warning. Do not ascend to the third heaven. You will be killed. Third heaven is a death trap. I was killed the moment I entered the third heaven. Complaints from the players that had been killed flooded the online forums and pretty much the entire internet, causing widespread shock. Holy shit, I am so glad that I decided to wait a few days before ascending. I dodged a bullet today. See, I told you that it was a bad idea to ascend so quickly. But why would the NPCs attack them? Who knows? What about player Yuan? Since he was the first one to ascend, there's a good chance that he was also killed, right? The players began wondering if Yuan had also been killed by the cultivators, unaware that he was responsible for their situation. Meanwhile, back at the stairway to heaven. There's something wrong here. Why are there so many people ascending in such a short time? What is happening? Lord G. I think we have made a grave mistake. We need to stop attacking immediately. The leaders of the 7 legacy families said to him. The Lord G of the third heaven also realized that something was amiss, so he demanded for the attacks to stop. However, it was already too late as hundreds of players have already lost their lives because of this misunderstanding. The cultivators waited for more players to show up so that they could ask the players about Yuan, but because of their massacre, none of the players dared to ascend anymore, and it would remain like this for an entire week. What the fuck is going on? What happened to Yuan? Did we kill him or not? The cultivators were at a loss and they couldn't tell if they'd killed Yuan or not due to the chaos and misunderstandings. The 7 legacy families and the G family held an emergency meeting afterward. In the end, they decided to leave the scene and return home for now, leaving behind some people to investigate the situation. As for their business with Yuan, since he was nowhere to be seen and they didn't know whether they had killed him or not, they decided to consider him dead until they figured things out. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1042. Published at 29th of June 2022 9:50 and 40 seconds AM. Chapter 1042. Chapter 1042. Arriving at third heaven. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1042. Arriving at third heaven. After being teleported out of the stairway to heaven by Tian, Yuan and the others found themselves somewhere in the middle of a green valley surrounded by mountains and trees. Looks like we have arrived safely. I was worried about the possibility of appearing in the middle of an ocean, or worse, at the bottom of one. Chu Liuxiang said as she looked around. Is everyone here? Yuan looked around to make sure that nobody had strayed from the group. Chu Liuxiang, Meishio, Li Jinxi, Xiaohua, Feng Yuxiang and Li Jinxi, all 6 of them were there. Since we've been inside the stairway to heaven for longer than ID anticipated, I am going to take a few days break. Well, figure out our location and where we should go afterward. Yuan said to them. Okay. Xiaohua and the other 2 servants returned to his body before Yuan logged off with Meishio and the others. After logging off, the first thing Yuan noticed was Mei Feng, who was cleaning his room at this moment. Welcome back. Mei Feng said when she noticed them removing their consoles. I'm back. Yuan smiled. I can't believe that you'd actually stayed inside for over a month without any breaks. Are you feeling okay? Mei Feng asked him. Yes, I am perfectly fine. He nodded. And he continued, but my stomach is not. I'm starving, I'll go cook some food right now. Mei Feng stopped cleaning the room and rushed to the kitchen. I'm going to take a shower, he said to Chu Liuxiang after Mei Feng left the room. I'll come with you, Chu Liuxiang said as she hopped off the bed and rushed into the bathroom. Yuan followed her a moment later. Why Yuan? Your body. Chu Liuxiang suddenly exclaimed when she got a clearer look at his appearance after he entered the bathroom. My body? Yuan looked down at his body to see that it had become more refined and detailed. Furthermore, he noticed that he was a little taller than before. The perfect tempering ginseng has affected your real body as well, Chu Liuxiang said with an excited smile on her face. I'm not surprised considering how powerful the treasure was. He smiled as well. Since it's been a while, let me be the first to have a taste of your new body, hee hee. Chu Liuxiang suddenly said with a lustful expression on her face. Yuan was speechless, but he didn't reject her. After a quick shower, Chu Liuxiang pulled Yuan into the bathtub with her, where they would spend over an hour embracing each other. Once they were both satisfied, they took another shower to wash off the sweat before leaving the bathroom and getting changed. By the time they arrived at the dining room, Meishio and the others were already sitting around the table. "Welcome back, Yuan, and congratulations on passing the trial," Wang Xiuying said to him. "Thank you. Yuan, there's something you should know," Meishio suddenly said to him with a weird expression on her face. "What happened?" "I just heard about it, but..." Meishio proceeded to tell him about the player massacre that had occurred shortly after they ascended to third heaven. "Seriously?" Yuan was speechless after hearing the news. He didn't think the 7 legacy families and the Ji family would attack indiscriminately. "Is it just me or is there something different about you, Yuan?" Wang Ming suddenly said. "Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters." "You're right. He seems a little taller than before." Wang Bingbing agreed with him. "Yuan, don't tell me the perfect tempering ginseng had..." Meishio swallowed nervously after the others mentioned it, as she was already used to seeing Yuan in his new body in cultivation online, so she didn't immediately notice. The same went for Li Jinsi, whose mouth opened slightly after seeing his new physique. "Long story short, I consumed a powerful treasure during the trial, and it was strong enough to affect my real body in this world as well." Yuan explained the situation to the members. "My God, you're like a different person," Shi Lang muttered in a dazed voice. "Well, it was a really rare treasure that only existed during the primordial era. There's a good chance that the treasure I consumed was the last one in existence," Yuan said with a smile. "Anyways, tell me more about this massacre. What is the situation now?" "There's not much happening. The players that tried to ascend were attacked the moment they left the stairway to heaven. Hundreds of players died because of this incident, and the players are no longer willing to ascend for the time being," Shimurong explained. "That reminds me, what about you guys? I was just about to ask Meishio before the two of you arrived. Were you guys also attacked? People online are speculating that you were also killed in the ambush," Wu Zhao asked. "No, we weren't attacked, but that's because we knew about it in advance and left the stairway to heaven in another way. In fact, I am the reason for the attack," Yuan sighed. "Huh? You're responsible for the massacre?" They all looked at him with wide eyes. He nodded and proceeded to explain to them about his situation with the 7 legacy families and the massacre that had occurred right before he entered the stairway to heaven. Because of what I did to their families in spirit heaven, they had set up that ambush for me. I should have warned the players before I entered the third heaven, but it didn't occur to me at that time. He shook his head with a guilty expression on his face. "Well, what's done is already done. These players were being foolish to begin with. I mean, why would they ascend when they don't have the qualifications in the first place? They would have died sooner or later anyway." Wang Ming shrugged his shoulders, unable to pity the players that had been killed. "Probably, but they didn't deserve to be killed in such a fashion." Yuan sighed. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters." Chapter 1043, published at 29th of June 2022 9:50 and 38 seconds AM. Chapter 1043, Chapter 1043 Arriving at Third Heaven 2. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1043 Arriving at Third Heaven 2. By the way, what happened to the players that were killed after they entered the third heaven? Do they get sent back to spirit heaven since they respawn in the last city they visited? Chu Liuxiang suddenly asked. "No, they get sent to the nearest city in third heaven," Shimurong said. "What are your plans now that you're in third heaven?" Wang Bingbing asked a moment later. "I'm going to visit the myriad of techniques to see if they have any new techniques. Then I am going to visit the Demon Sealing clan, since I have some unfinished business with the Demon Sealing Pagoda," Yuan said. He turned to look at Li Jinsi and asked, "What about you? Now that you're in third heaven, what are your plans? If you want, you can follow us to the myriad of techniques. I can get you some free techniques." "Free techniques?" Yuan nodded. "Yes, and since we don't know our location, it would be better for you to follow us until we arrive at a city. Who knows how powerful the magical beasts around us are." "All right, then I will bother you a little longer." Li Jinsi agreed to follow them. Sometime later, Mei Feng filled the table with a feast. "You cooked all of this in just 2 hours? Even 10 people would have trouble cooking this much food in such a short time." Wang Ming was shocked by Mai Feng's inhuman capabilities. However, despite the food filling the whole table, they would empty all of the plates in less than an hour with Yuan putting in the most effort, as he was the hungriest there. Perhaps it was due to his new physique that required more energy, but Yuan didn't feel full even after eating half of the food on the table. How was the food? Mei Feng suddenly asked him. As always, it's perfect. Really? But you don't seem satisfied. Perhaps you're not full yet? I will make more food, it's fine. I'm not full, but I don't need to be full every time I eat. As long as I don't starve, I will be fine. He stopped her. If you say so. After their meal, Yuan returned to his room and called Ro to chat with her. Am I bothering you right now? I can call later if that's the case. Yuan asked her as he laid on the bed. It's okay, I needed a break anyway. Ro said. And she continued, Congratulations, brother. I heard the news. You entered the third heaven, right? Yes. Are you okay? People are saying that you were also a victim of the player massacre. Have you heard of it? She then asked. I heard of it, but you don't need to worry. None of us are hurt because... Yuan proceeded to explain the whole situation to her. What? You're currently being hunted by these powerful families? Why? Ro was shocked to learn of this information. I'm not sure either, but according to the Ji family, the heavens want me dead. Yuan shrugged. The heavens? Is that some kind of title for someone? I'm not sure either. What are you going to do to these people? Are you going to kill all of them? Ro suddenly asked, her voice sounding a bit worried. No, I won't fight them unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't want to put you guys in danger either. They probably think I am dead right now because of the player massacre, so I'm going to travel under a new identity for now. Stay safe, brother. Now that I know our souls are involved, I really don't want you to hurt yourself. I know. Wav. The two of them continued to chat with each other for another half an hour. Once the call ended, Yuan decided to get some actual sleep. Unbeknownst to Yuan, he would not wake up for 3 whole days. 3 days later, Yuan woke up, feeling incredibly refreshed. However, he was surprised to see Wang Xiaoying sitting right beside him. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Huh. What are you doing? He asked her. You're finally awake. You have been sleeping for 3 days now, Yuan? I was just checking your condition just to make sure you're still alive. 3 days. Yuan's eyes widened. I guess it's been a while since I last got some decent sleep. What about the others? I told them to not worry, that you're probably just exhausted after spending so much time in cultivation online. I see. Thank you, Xiaoying. Don't even mention it. I am the faction's nurse for a reason, she smiled. Anyways, now that you're awake, go let the others know that you're okay. They're all training in the field right now. Okay. He nodded. After washing his face, Yuan went to the balcony and flew to the training field that was right behind their building. The others were relieved to see that he was fine. Yuan, let's spar. Li Jinsi suddenly approached him. Sure. Yuan started training with Li Jinsi and the others. Over the next several days, Yuan would relax in the real world without logging into cultivation online. After what had experienced in the stairway to heaven, he really needed a break. The ladies that went to the third heaven with him did the same, not that they could go anywhere without Yuan in cultivation online. Li Jinsi would spend all of her time training her body, motivating herself with Yuan. As for Chu Liuxiang and Meishio, besides improving their own cultivation, they would spend the rest of their time in bed with Yuan. After an entire week had passed since Yuan ascended to the third heaven, they finally decided to return to cultivation online. Once they were inside cultivation online, they picked a random direction and started flying towards that direction, hoping they would come across a city or some people to ask for directions. After flying for almost the entire day, they finally found a group of traveling merchants for directions. The nearest city would be Fucheng City. If you continue traveling towards the south, you should reach it in an hour. The merchant said to them. I understand. Thank you for your help. Yuan handed them some spirit stones to show his gratitude before continuing the journey, arriving at the city about half an hour earlier than anticipated. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1044. Published at 29th of June 2022 9:50 and 36 seconds AM. Chapter 1044. Chapter 1044. Returning to the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1044. Returning to the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library. After arriving at Fucheng City, Yuan asked the guards there if they had a myriad of techniques in the city. Sorry, but we don't. If you're looking for the myriad of techniques, you'll have to go to Silver Heaven City. The guard said. Silver Heaven City? Yuan's eyes widened after hearing this familiar name, as this was where Tian originated from, where he was born. Which direction is the Silver Heaven City? He then asked. If you continue going east, you should arrive in about 4 days using a flying treasure. The guard pointed toward the east and said, Thank you. Yuan and the others continued their journey to Silver Heaven City. Silver Heaven City? I believe that's the largest city in Third Heaven. Feng Yuxiang said. It is, and I knew it very well. Really? Oh. Feng Yuxiang asked, her face filled with curiosity. Because Tianqing was born in that city, he said with a smile. Tianqing? The divine Paragon was born in Silver Heaven City? He nodded. Indeed. Tianqing? Who is that? Li Jinsi wondered inwardly after hearing this unfamiliar name, as she was the only person there who didn't know about Yuan's reincarnation. The trip took a little over 5 days because they didn't use any flying treasures and they took breaks. Once they arrived at Silver Heaven City, Yuan paid the entrance fee and entered the city. This place feels nostalgic yet completely foreign at the same time. Yuan looked around the city with a dazed expression on his face. Sometime later, they arrived at the myriad of techniques after getting the directions. Go ahead and look around. If you want any techniques, just pick it. I'm going to visit the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library. Yuan said to Li Jinsi and the others. Will you be gone for long? Li Jinsi asked him. They'll be gone for several hours at most. Okay. While Li Jinsi and the others looked around the myriad of techniques, Yuan went to the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library. After showing the staff member his Demon Sealing badge, the staff allowed Yuan to traverse to the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library. It's been a while. Yuan stared at the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library with a nostalgic gaze. Now that he had Tianqing's memories, the place looked completely different and felt much more nostalgic and natural than before. After spending a few moments feeling nostalgic, Yuan approached the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library. The place was awfully quiet, almost as though he was the only person there. Of course, there was still a guard at the entrance of the building. What are you doing here? The Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library is closed. The guard said to him. It's still closed. Yuan was speechless. How long do they plan on keeping the place closed? The Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library is a popular training ground for all demon sealers. It would hinder their growth if they kept it closed for too long. In fact, this is the first time the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library has been closed since its founding. Yuan didn't try to argue with the guard. Instead, he retrieved the communication jade slip that had received from Yenhara. Senior, it's Yuan. I am currently at the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library, and I would like to challenge the Demon Sealing Pagoda again. If you're busy, I will return at another time. After sending the message, Yuan began waiting for a response, which didn't take too long. About a minute later, his communication jade slip trembled, and Yenhara's voice resounded shortly after. I missed your voice, little founder. You want to challenge the Demon Sealing Pagoda, right? Give me an hour. I will be there as soon as I can. She's as energetic as ever. Yuan smiled after hearing her voice. Sometime later, when the guard noticed that Yuan wasn't leaving, he spoke. Why are you still here? Unless you're a master demon sealer, you're not allowed to enter no matter how long you stand out here. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. My mentor is coming. She's a master demon sealer. Yuan said to him. The guard no longer said anything and became silent. A little over an hour later, Yuan could see a portal appearing not far away from his location, and a beautiful woman came out of it a moment later. Naturally, it was Yenhara. Little founder. A bright smile appeared on Yenhara's face the moment she saw his handsome face, even jogging towards him and waving at the same time. It's been a while, senior. Yuan greeted her with a smile of his own. However, Yenhara suddenly slowed down to a halt and proceeded to stare at him with a baffled expression on her face. Senior? Yuan raised his eyebrows in a questioning manner. Little founder. Did something happen to you? Why do you look the same yet so different at the same time? You even grew a few inches, Yenhara asked as she inspected his body at a closer distance. She suddenly grabbed his arm and inspected his muscles by squeezing it. Wow, your muscles are flawlessly refined. What kind of treasure did you consume? Perfect tempering ginseng, he said with a profound smile on his face. What? Yenhara stopped all of her movements and stared at him with a shocked look on her face. I'm just joking. This is the result of my training. Yuan chuckled a moment later. I thought so. You almost gave me a heart attack, little founder. After all, the perfect tempering ginseng no longer exists in this world. They've been extinct for millions of years. Yen Hara sighed afterward. Anyways, let's continue talking inside, she said as she approached the grand library. Greetings, Senior Yen. The guard greeted her. We're going to use the demon ceiling pagoda, she said. Of course. The guard opened the doors for them without any hesitation. Yen Hara led Yuan into the building shortly after. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1045. Published at 9th of July 2022 7 o'clock and 26 seconds AM. Chapter 1045. 1045. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1045. Returning to the Demon Ceiling Pagoda. After entering the Demon Ceiling Clan's Grand Library, Yen Hara led Yuan to her room. Take a seat. I'll make some tea for us, Yen Hara said to him. A few minutes later she returned with a teapot and 2 teacups. So, what have you been up to lately? She asked him after sitting down and pouring him a cup of tea. Thank you. Yuan sipped on the tea a couple of times before speaking. Nothing much, really. I just ascended to the 3rd heaven. That fast? If I recall correctly, you just ascended to the 2nd heaven not long ago, Yen Hara said with slightly widened eyes. Yes, and I intend on ascending to the 4th heaven as soon as I finish up some business in the 3rd heaven, the Demon Ceiling Pagoda being one of them. He nodded. I see. You're moving up faster than I'd anticipated. Of course I am not complaining. The faster you arrive in the 7th heaven, the sooner I will get to see you. Yen Hara smiled. But you're already seeing me now? Yuan raised an eyebrow. This place doesn't count, she quickly said. Sometime later, after finishing the tea, Yuan asked, by the way, what's the situation between the Demon Ceiling Clan and the Demon Ceiling Grotto right now? Yen Hara lowered her teacup and then said with a dispirited expression, Not good. Not good at all. In fact, it's been getting worse. Demon sealers from both sides would fight each other whenever they cross paths, and several demon sealers have already died from the drama. At this rate, there will be a full-blown war between the Demon Ceiling Clan and the Demon Ceiling Grotto. How foolish, Yuan muttered in a cold voice. Huh. Yen Hara looked at him with wide eyes. Neither side will win this war even if one side beats the other. The true winners will be the demons that will soon return to this world. Wait a minute? What do you mean by that? The demons are already near extinction. There's no way they would return. Is that what you truly believe or is that what you want to think? Yuan asked her in a calm voice. That's what I truly believe, she said. Then you should change your beliefs, Senior. Although there may not be as many demons today as there were back in the days, they won't be gone anytime soon. In fact, they're most likely recovering their forces out there somewhere. How do you know all of this? Yen Hara asked him in a trembling voice. Yuan smiled and said, I will tell you the truth later, when I defeat the Demon Ceiling Pagoda. Defeat the Demon Ceiling Pagoda? You couldn't even get past the 4th floor on your last attempt, and in case you forgot, nobody has passed that floor since the Divine Paragon. Not even the current leader of the Demon Ceiling Clan. Yen Hara said. Actions speak louder than words. If you don't believe me, I will do it right now. Sure. Yen Hara and Yuan arrived at the Demon Ceiling Pagoda several minutes later. Whenever you're ready, little founder, Yen Hara said to him. I'm ready now. Sometime later, Yen Hara paid the resources to activate the Demon Ceiling Pagoda. Once the door opened, Yuan calmly walked into the building. Young master, you should save your energy for the first few fights while we fight for you, Feng Yuxiang said to him. No, I will challenge the Demon Ceiling Pagoda by myself this time. I appreciate your consideration though, Yuan said to them. After entering the building, Tian Chenya's voice resounded, Welcome to the Demon Ceiling Pagoda, young demon sealer. I will now tell you the rules of this place. If you break any of them, you'll automatically be removed from this place. The voice proceeded to repeat everything that was said the last time he was here, word for word. Once the introductions were finished, a superior demon appeared in the middle of the room. When you're prepared to start the challenge, ready? Yuan said without any hesitation. The superior demon immediately sprung into action and lunged itself at Yuan. Swords of Eternal Torment. A single golden sword suddenly materialized above the demon, pinning it to the ground. Arg! The demon released a pained roar. Yuan casually plunged his bare hands into the pinned demon's chest, removing its crystal. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. After crushing the crystal, the demon stopped moving and disappeared. Congratulations, you have managed to pass the first floor in 9 seconds. It's a new record. Since you have already received a reward from this floor, you will not receive any rewards for clearing this floor. You may proceed to the next floor whenever you are ready. Yuan calmly made his way to the second floor. Welcome to the second floor. You have 1 hour and 30 minutes to defeat the demon. Upon arriving at the second floor, the scenery changed, and Yuan found himself on a platform inside a coliseum with spectators, just like the last time. When you're prepared, ready? The moment he started the challenge, Yuan raised the Empyrean Overlord above him. Ding! A gust of wind swept the arena as Yuan blocked the demon general's invisible attack. Swords of Eternal Torment. Yuan repeated what he did the last time and pinned the demon general to the ground before destroying its crystal. Congratulations, you have managed to pass the second floor in 11 seconds. It's a new record. Since you have already received a reward from this floor, you will not receive any rewards for clearing this floor. You may proceed to the next floor whenever you are ready. On the next floor, 2 demons waited for him, both demon generals. When you're ready? After starting the fight, Yuan waited for the demons to attack him like last time, but to his surprise they remained standing there, seemingly hesitant for some reason. How boring. He sighed before using Swords of Eternal Torment, pinning them both on the ground. Congratulations, you have managed to pass the third floor in 20 seconds. It's a new record. A few seconds later, Yuan made his way to the fourth floor where he was stopped. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1046. Published at 9th of July 2022 4:18 and 14 seconds p.m. Chapter 1046. 1046 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1046 Spirit King. Welcome to the fourth floor. You have 15 minutes to defeat the demon. On the fourth floor of the demon ceiling pagoda that was in a lava environment, Yuan patiently waited for the gray demon to show up. A few moments later, the gray-skinned demon with a broken horn came out of the lava and stood on the platform before Yuan. When you're prepared to start the challenge, say ready out loud. Yuan didn't immediately start the fight this time. Instead, he took a few moments to silently stare at the demon. What's wrong? Aren't you going to say your famous line? That I am not worthy to fight you? Yuan suddenly spoke with a calm smile on his face. The gray demon narrowed its eyes at Yuan. You have grown a little stronger since I killed you. The demon responded a few seconds later, almost as though it retained its memories of their last encounter. Just a little stronger? Yuan chuckled. And he continued in a mocking tone, that's funny because you seem a lot weaker to me. The gray demon's eyes flickered with killing intent. Watch your mouth, livestock. Originally, I was going to just kill you as soon as possible and get to the next floor, but I have changed my mind. I'm going to beat you senseless. I would love to see how you're going to do that, livestock. Yuan smiled and he proceeded to start the challenge. Ready? The second Yuan started the challenge, the gray demon disappeared from its location. Brother Yuan. Xiao Hua instinctively shouted because of what happened last time. Are you looking down on me, demon? Yuan spoke in a calm voice after catching the demon's hand without turning around. The demon was shocked when it realized that Yuan had caught its attack with his bare hands. However, when it pulled back and tried to escape, the demon became even more baffled when it couldn't break out of Yuan's grasp. Whoosh! Yuan suddenly flung his entire arm, sending the demon into the air before slamming it back down onto the ground. Boom! The platform shook when the demon landed on the ground. Yuan then crushed the demon's head with his foot. Of course, the demon recovered from the injury within seconds. However, Yuan's intention was just to mess with the demon and make it feel helpless, so he continued to stomp on its head while tightly holding into the demon's hand, preventing it from running away. A few stomps later, Yuan pinned the demon to the ground with the Sword of Eternal Torment. Now let's try it with Pain and Demon Sealing Aura. Yuan spoke with a cold grin on his face. He then stomped the demon's head into the platform again, but he covered his foot with Demon Sealing Aura this time, sealing the demon with every stomp. A stop, boom, damn you, boom. Once the demon was almost completely sealed, Yuan pulled the demon off the floor and had it stand right in front of him. You're not worthy to fight me, demon. Yuan said before shoving his arm through the demon's chest and destroying its crystal. Congratulations, you have managed to pass the 4th floor in 4 minutes and 11 seconds. It's a new record. Here is your reward for clearing the 4th stage. A golden orb of light appeared from within the lava and floated towards Yuan. After absorbing the orb of light, Yuan could feel the spiritual energy in his Dantian overflow and his cultivation base soaring. His Spirit Grandmaster cultivation instantly broke through to the peak of Spirit Lord, returning him to his original cultivation. However, that wasn't the end of it, as his cultivation continued to soar. Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. Within just a few seconds, Yuan had entered the realm of Spirit King and even skyrocketed to the 4th level. His aura also soared. However, Yuan didn't feel any excitement even though he is now a Spirit King, as had experienced even higher cultivation levels as Tian. Congratulations on reaching Spirit King finally, young master. Feng Yuxiang and the others congratulated him. Thank you. He smiled as he approached the next floor. Meanwhile, Yenhara was patiently waiting outside. Considering how fast he progressed last time, he should be on the 2nd floor now. She suddenly raised an eyebrow when she noticed a figure standing atop the demon ceiling pagoda. The Divine Paragon. Yenhara fell on her, but when she saw his handsome face. Why is the Divine Paragon appearing again? Did something happen inside the demon ceiling pagoda? After stealing her resolve, Yenhara flew into the air and approached the Divine Paragon. He's just an illusion, so it should be fine if I took a closer look, she thought to herself. Once she was right in front of the Divine Paragon, Yenhara began inspecting his appearance in closer detail. The more I look at him, the more he looks like the little founder. Unbeknownst to Yenhara, she no longer saw the Divine Paragon in Yuan. Instead, she saw Yuan in the Divine Paragon. The little founder. He's definitely a descendant of the Divine Paragon. Yenhara is now convinced of her theory. Upon entering the 5th floor, Yuan found himself atop a mountain and with not 2, but 3 demons, all 3 emitting the aura of a Spirit King. Each of these demons had their own unique physique. One of them was skinny while another was bulky. The third one was even round like a balloon, which surprised Yuan. Furthermore, they were all sort of demon emperors. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1047. Published at 10th of July 2022 2:09 and 13 seconds p.m. Chapter 1047. 1047 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1047 7th floor of the Demon Ceiling Pagoda. Welcome to the 5th floor. You have 1 hour to defeat the demons. The Divine Paragon's voice resounded. How many years has it been since someone made it to this floor? I don't remember, the skinny demon suddenly muttered as it stared at Yuan with an excited smile on its face. However, Yuan ignored the skinny demon and focused his gaze on the fat demon. It's rare to see a fat demon even back in the primordial era. I remember my first experience with one. I nearly laughed my ass off. Yuan said with a smile on his face. The fat demon trembled when it heard Yuan's words. What did you just call me, lowly livestock? The fat demon growled in a cold voice. Yuan laughed out loud. Your reaction is the same as that fat demon when I laughed at it. I see. So I had decided to put you in this demon ceiling pagoda? Die, livestock. The fat demon suddenly lunged at Yuan. However, Yuan didn't start the challenge yet. This is the first time the demon initiated the fight. Demon Ceiling Zone. Yuan snapped his fingers, surrounding himself and the fat demon with the Demon Ceiling Zone. The fat demon immediately felt its strength drained by the Demon Ceiling Zone. Whoosh! Yuan swung his sword at the fat demon while it was still in the air, slicing its body horizontally in half. Sword of Eternal Torment. Yuan pinned the fat demon into the ground while its body was still severed. Arg! What is this feeling? The fat demon screamed when it experienced pain for the first time. This feeling is called pain. Remember it well. Yuan looked down at it with a cold smile on his face. How dare you look down on us? The other 2 demons shouted as it attacked the Demon Ceiling Zone. However, they quickly realized how durable the Demon Ceiling Zone was, and they couldn't even put a slight crack in it. Coward! Fight us if you dare. Yuan looked at the skinny demon who just spoke and said, You want to fight? Sure. He removed the Demon Ceiling Zone, allowing the 2 demons to reach him. Sword of Eternal Torment. Ah! The demons kneeled on the ground when multiple golden swords stabbed their back. Yuan sighed. Compared to before, the demon sealing pagoda is too easy now. He killed the skinny and bulky demon shortly after, leaving the fat demon for last. You may be laughing now, but once you reach the next floor, you will witness true horror. The fat demon said its last words before Yuan killed it. Congratulations, you have managed to pass the 5th floor in 2 minutes and 11 seconds. It's a new record. Here is your reward for clearing the 5th stage. After absorbing the reward, Yuan's cultivation soared once again. Yuan approached the 6th floor as a 7th level spirit king. Even before he stepped onto the 6th floor of the demon sealing pagoda, Yuan noticed a massive round figure sitting in what appeared to be a sea of blood. This round figure was the size of a mountain, and it had a hideous face that would make even the coldest warriors run away in fear. The abomination, huh? No matter how many times I see it, it makes my skin crawl. Visit Me for extra chapters. Welcome to the 6th floor. You have 5 minutes to defeat the demon. When you're prepared to start the challenge, say ready out loud. 5 minutes, huh? The purpose of the 6th floor was to test the strength of a demon sealer's demon sealing aura, hence why there was an abomination and such a short time limit. If one's demon sealing aura isn't strong enough, they wouldn't be able to defeat the abomination even if they were given 100 hours. However, if one's demon sealing aura was strong enough, they could do so in less than 5 minutes. Yuan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Ready. Swords of Eternal Torment. Yuan opened his eyes and summoned over 100 golden swords to attack the abomination, waking it up from its slumber. He then began gathering spiritual energy for a heaven-splitting sword strike as the abomination stumbled around and screamed in pain. After spending a whole minute gathering spiritual energy, Yuan released the heaven-splitting sword strike. With his limiter removed, the sword light from the heaven-splitting sword strike was powerful enough to cover the entire abomination's figure, and since Head infused the heaven-splitting sword strike with his demon-sealing aura, the abomination was not able to recover fast enough and was disaggregated until there was nothing left. Congratulations, you have managed to pass the 6th floor in 1 minute and 9 seconds. It's a new record. After absorbing the reward, Yuan's cultivation soared to the peak of Spirit King. Looks like you'll be a Spirit Emperor in no time, young master. Feng Yuxiang said to him as he took a moment to recover his spent spiritual energy. No, I want reach Spirit Emperor. Yuan said. Huh? Are you saying that you want clear the next floor? She asked in a puzzled tone. No, that's not it. You'll find out when I clear the next floor. Sometime later he made his way to the 7th floor. The 7th floor of the demon sealing pagoda looked completely different from the previous 6 floors. There was neither a visible platform nor a sky. Instead, he was surrounded by nothing but stars, almost as though he was now inside the stairway to heaven. Yuan walked onto the invisible platform and approached the figure standing many meters away. This figure had its eyes closed, seemingly asleep, but it was also emanating a bloodthirsty aura. Yuan knew at a glance that, unlike the gray demons on the 4th and 5th floor, this demon was a full-fledged demon emperor. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1048. Published at 11th of July 2022 5:22 and 57 seconds AM. Chapter 1048. Chapter 1048 Fighting the Demon Emperor. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1048 Fighting the Demon Emperor. Welcome to the 7th floor. You have 4 hours to defeat the demon. Shortly after Yuan arrived on the 7th floor of the demon sealing pagoda, the demon emperor, still with its eyes closed, spoke in a calm voice. What is your name, human? Tian Xinyu. Yuan said with a smile on his face to see how the demon emperor would react. The demon emperor's eyebrows slightly twitched upon hearing Yuan's words, but other than that, it really didn't have any reaction. I'm just joking. You can call me Yuan, demon emperor. You're a peculiar human, Yuan. Not only are you able to stand there and talk with me without pissing your pants, but you can even make jokes. I guess you made it this far for a reason. Oh, a demon is actually praising a human? As expected, demon emperors are different. Compared to the mentally weak demons that will become enraged at the slightest provocation, you guys aren't like that, and it's almost like I am speaking to another human, Yuan said with a profound smile on his face. What did you just say? The demon emperor mumbled in a dazed voice, its aura suddenly shooting into the cloudless sky. Oh, did I hit a nerve? Yuan chucked. Did you just compare me to humans? You think I am like a human? Meh. A demon emperor? Know your place. The Demon Emperor suddenly opened its eyes, revealing violet eyes that emanated intense killing intent. A nervous smile appeared on Yuan's face when the Demon Emperor's chilling aura permeated the entire area there. Even with his prowess and talents, he still couldn't help but tremble before it. Although he didn't think that he was going to lose to this Demon Emperor, he knew that it wasn't going to be an easy task, especially considering that had just angered the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor began approaching Yuan in slow and steady steps, looking extremely menacing. Yuan tightly held onto his Empyrean Overlord and prepared to fight the Demon Emperor. Remember the name of the demon who will kill you, my name, Demon Emperor Wraith. Demon Emperor Wraith roared right before it summoned a bloody axe in both hands and rushed at Yuan. Ding. Yuan blocked one of its axes with the Empyrean Overlord, but the Demon Emperor had a second one, and it used it to attack him almost instantly afterward. Ding. The starry abyss appeared right in front of the location that the axe was going to land, blocking it. However, since he was controlling the starry abyss with a technique, it wasn't as powerful as the sword in his hand. Yuan quickly used his movement technique to dodge the Demon Emperor's second axe right before it bypassed the starry abyss defense and gained some distance between them. Not bad, Yuan smiled. Ha. The Demon Emperor didn't give Yuan any time to rest and immediately chased after him. The two of them would go back and forth for the next 5 minutes, blocking and attacking each other. Swords of Eternal Torment. A minute into their fight, Yuan summoned the Golden Swords. The Golden Sword struck the Demon Emperor because it had appeared so suddenly. However, the Demon Emperor didn't show much reaction to it besides having an annoyed look on its face. So you know this pesky technique as well, huh? Although it's extremely effective against lower-ranking demons, it's ineffective against demon emperors such as us. Yuan narrowed his eyes on the Demon Emperor. That's a bluff. The Swords of Eternal Torment definitely works on even demon emperors. It's just that my demon sealing aura isn't strong enough to affect it. Demon Sealing Zone. He proceeded to create a massive zone that covered almost 100 meters in radius around him and the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor could feel its strength decreasing, but it wasn't by too much, and it wasn't nearly enough to make it panic. Another annoying technique. I thought only the Divine Paragon could use these techniques. How come you can use them as well? The Demon Emperor suddenly asked Yuan. I already told you. I am Tian. Yuan said with a smile. I won't be able to defeat it at this rate. I didn't want to use this because it's very risky and energy-consuming, but if I want to defeat this Demon Emperor, I'm going to have to use it. He thought to himself. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. After taking a deep breath, Yuan suddenly retrieved his Empyrean Overlord and Starry Abyss, becoming bare-handed. His actions greatly puzzled the Demon Emperor and piqued its interest at the same time. What are you doing? Are you giving up already? The Demon Emperor asked him. Give up? Before a demon? Over my dead body. Yuan smiled in response. He then made some gestures with his hands before shouting out loud, close. The demon sealing zone suddenly closed in on the Demon Emperor until it was basically trying to squeeze it to death. The Demon Emperor laughed when it saw what he was doing. What nonsense do you think you're doing? This won't have any effect on me. However, before the demon could try to break out of the demon sealing zone, Yuan made a few more hand gestures before shouting again, restrict. Golden chains suddenly came out of the ground and coiled itself all around the Demon Emperor's body, restricting its movements. How dare you underestimate me with this shit? The Demon Emperor quickly started struggling, but it was having a little trouble breaking out of the chains, as it kept coming out of the ground and replacing the ones it broke. Now that I have bought myself some time, Yuan immediately sat on the floor and began cultivating with his eyes closed. An unfathomable aura suddenly began emitting from Yuan's body, quickly permeating the area. The Demon Emperor had an uneasy feeling in its guts after seeing Yuan and his aura, and it became desperate. A few more moments later, right as the Demon Emperor broke out of the last chain, Yuan opened his eyes and shouted, Demon Sealing Pagoda. The Demon Emperor's eyes widened with shock as it looked up to see that a massive golden pagoda had appeared above it. Wait. The Demon Emperor pleaded. However, Yuan ignored the demon and gestured for the pagoda to fall. The golden pagoda fell the following moment, crushing the Demon Emperor into the ground. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1049. Published at 12th of July 2022 5:09 and 26 seconds AM. Chapter 1049. 1049 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1049 The True Purpose of the Demon Sealing Pagoda Dong. The moment the golden pagoda landed on the demon emperor, a profound ripple permeated the world there, causing it to shake. However, the demon sealing pagoda wasn't meant to kill the demon emperor. "Let me out." The demon emperor's voice boomed from within the golden pagoda. Yuan ignored the demon emperor's voice and continued to focus on the golden pagoda, pouring his spiritual energy and demon sealing aura into it. Within the demon sealing pagoda, the demon emperor was trying its best to fight back against the demon sealing aura that was entering its body without any resistance. The demon emperor knew that even with its strong resistance against demon sealing aura that it wouldn't be able to last long inside the demon sealing pagoda, one of the divine Paragon's strongest demon sealing techniques. However, maintaining the demon sealing pagoda wasn't an easy task for Yuan, who was severely lacking in cultivation. The only reason he could use this technique at his current level is because of his memories as the divine Paragon and his experience. Dong, dong, dong. Over the next several moments, the demon emperor would try to break out of the demon sealing pagoda but to no avail. Feeling like a trapped mouse, the demon emperor unleashed its limit and strongest technique. However, before the demon emperor could fully unleash its attack, Yuan suddenly made more hand gestures and shouted, "Seal!" Ah! The demon emperor suddenly felt intense pain coming from all over its body, and when it looked down, it noticed many tiny needles piercing into its body. Before the demon emperor could react, Yuan's voice resounded again, "Seal!" An intense pressure infused with demon sealing aura suddenly flattened the demon emperor. "Seal!" Golden chains appeared from within the pagoda and chained the demon emperor. "Seal!" 3 flags appeared the next moment and surrounded the demon emperor. By now, half of the demon emperor's body had turned into stone, but Yuan wasn't finished just yet. "Seal! Seal! Seal!" Yuan repeated the word 9 times in total. After the 9th seal, the demon emperor was completely sealed. Yuan deactivated the demon sealing pagoda immediately afterward and began to recover his cultivation. Half an hour later, after recovering enough spiritual energy, Yuan began charging up for a maximum power heaven-splitting sword strike to finish off the demon emperor once and for all. And just to make sure the demon emperor was as weak as possible, he surrounded the demon emperor with the demon sealing zone to further increase his chances of killing it in one go. Once he was prepared, Yuan released his strongest heaven-splitting sword strike yet. The heaven-splitting sword strike was so powerful that it caused the space there to distort. A few moments later. "Congratulations, you have managed to pass the 7th floor in 1 hour, 20 minutes and 37 seconds. It's a new record. Here is your reward for clearing the 7th stage." A golden orb of light floated towards Yuan, but it wasn't something he could absorb. The golden orb of light disappeared once it reached Yuan, turning into a small golden ring. Yuan smiled when he saw this ring. He accepted it and tossed it into his spatial ring without even inspecting it, almost as though he already knew what it was and what it was capable of. "What was that ring, young master?" Feng Yuxiang asked out of curiosity as he approached the 8th floor. "Something that I will need in the future," he said. "Don't keep us in suspense, young master." Yuan merely kept on smiling, refusing to tell them about it. Upon arriving at the 8th floor, Yuan found himself in the middle of an ocean with no land, but there were also no signs of a demon. "Welcome to the 8th floor." The divine Paragon's voice resounded, but he didn't say anything about the clear condition. "Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters." Despite that, Yuan remained calm. "What is going on, young master?" Feng Yuxiang asked him. "You will see in a few minutes," he said. He then sat down and started cultivating to recover his spent spiritual energy from the previous fight. 15 minutes later, Yuan stood up and turned to look towards the east before flying in that direction. Half an hour later, Yuan stopped when he arrived before a small island. After landing on this island, he looked around until he found a jade tablet that was located in the center of this island. He approached it before giving it a good kick, shattering the jade tablet. "Congratulations, you have managed to pass the 8th floor in 33 minutes and 20 seconds. Here is your reward for clearing the 8th stage." "Huh? What? What just happened?" Feng Yuxiang exclaimed while shocked and puzzled at the same time. Xiao Hua and Lan Yingying felt the same, as they couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Yuan didn't say anything until after he accepted the reward, which was even more puzzling than the 8th floor itself. "A scabbard for a sword?" Xiao Hua mumbled. "I will be needing this very soon," he said. "Anyways, the 8th trial is a special one. Unless you know where to go and what to do, it's impossible to clear this floor. What that means? Indeed. Unless that person has the Divine Paragon's memories or is the Divine Paragon himself, it is literally impossible to pass the 8th floor. Yuan said with a smile. What if someone found the tablet by chance? Feng Yuxiang suddenly asked. They still wouldn't be able to destroy it because you need to hit it with a precise amount of demon sealing aura. It won't budge even if you're slightly off. Isn't that a little cheating? Yuan chuckled. The true purpose of the demon sealing pagoda isn't to train demon sealers. You'll understand soon. Sometime later, Yuan began ascending the final staircase to reach the 9th floor of the demon sealing pagoda. This place is, Feng Yuxiang muttered in a dazed voice after seeing the 9th floor for the first time. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. C1059 Floor of the Demon Sealing Pagoda. Chapter 1059 Floor of the Demon Sealing Pagoda. Welcome to the 9th floor of the Demon Sealing Pagoda and my little secret place. The 3 of you are the first ones besides Tian to see this place. Yuan said to them with a smile. Feng Yuxiang and the others came out of his body to look at the scenery before them. What is this place? Lan Yingying asked him. They were standing before a small hill that was filled with flowers, and on the top of this hill was a large tree. However, this place didn't look anything special. In fact, it looked oddly ordinary. Despite that, this place was one of the most important and precious places in Tianqin's memories. Tianqin, I used to come to this place often with my childhood sweetheart before she was killed by a demon, though it was always against my own will. Yuan said with a bittersweet smile on his face. And this place is the true purpose of the demon sealing pagoda? I still don't understand. Feng Yuxiang asked. Just wait a little longer. Yuan said. He then raised his arm and pointed it at the tree before making a beckoning motion with his hand. Whoosh! A long object suddenly flew from the tree and into the air for a few seconds before it pointed itself at Yuan and flew towards him. Young master, watch out. Feng Yuxiang warned him. It's fine. Yuan said with a calm look on his face before catching this object in one smooth motion. That is a sword? Xiaohua mumbled. Yuan nodded as he held the black and red sword in front of him to show it to the others. Unlike the Empyrean Overlord that was classified as a great sword, this sword with a black hilt and a thin red blade was shaped like most ordinary swords. However, this sword was anything but ordinary, as it naturally emitted a demon sealing aura that was strong enough to rival even the top demon sealers in the demon sealing clan. Furthermore, if one looked closely, they would be able to see the words demon sealing flawlessly engraved on both sides of the blade. Demon sealing sword. This is one of the Divine Paragon's 3 demon sealing treasures that he used to push the demons to near extinction. And this scabbard from the last stage is from this sword. Yuan placed the sword back into its scabbard, reuniting the two after millions of years of being apart. Why did you separate it in the first place? And why make the scabbard the reward for the 8th floor? Lan Yingying couldn't help but ask. Yuan smiled and said, This may seem like a joke, but I am serious when I say this. I made it the 8th floor's reward because I couldn't be bothered to find a proper reward. After all, nobody besides myself would be able to pass the 8th floor, so there's no point in putting any treasure there. Unbelievable, Feng Yuxiang mumbled. Anyways, now that I have this sword, all demons will be at my mercy. Yuan said with a cold grin on his face as he stared at the sword in his grasp. Demon sealing sword, grade, mythic, quality, peak. Description. Once wielded by the Divine Paragon and used to slay over 100,000 demons. Demons damaged by this sword will instantly be sealed. Damage inflicted with this sword increased by 1000%. The girls swallowed nervously when they saw his face. Even without the sword you wouldn't lose to any demons, Feng Yuxiang said. That's not true. In my current state I would lose if I encountered a real demon emperor. In the end, the demon emperor from the 7th floor isn't a real demon emperor, else it wouldn't have lost so easily. Yuan shrugged. Anyways, now that we are done here, let's get out. He then said. They nodded and returned inside his body. Before leaving the demon sealing pagoda, Yuan took a moment to gaze at the scenery one last time. We will definitely reunite again, AI Rong? Yuan mumbled in a low voice before disappearing from the 9th floor, appearing back on the 1st floor a moment later. After storing the demon sealing sword inside his spatial ring, Yuan approached the exit and opened the door, leaving the demon sealing pagoda. Outside the pagoda was Yen Hara, who had a surprised look on her face for some reason. "You're out already? What happened? You were inside for a much shorter time than your first attempt," she asked him. "Yes, and I cleared the demon ceiling pagoda," Yuan said with a calm face. "Why you what?" Yenhara stared at him with a baffled look on her face. "I cleared it. On the 5th floor, I had to fight 3 demons that were all at the same level as the demon on the 4th floor. On the 6th floor, I had to fight an abomination. On the 7th floor, I had to fight a real demon emperor. I didn't have to fight anything for the last 2 floors because there was nothing to fight." Yuan gave her a brief explanation about his experience inside the demon ceiling pagoda. 3 demons? An abomination? A real demon emperor? Yenhara still couldn't believe it. Did Yuan really manage to clear the demon ceiling pagoda that hasn't been cleared since its creation in just a few short hours? "Anyways, there's something I want to talk to you about, Senior Yen. Or should I call you Demon Sealer Yen? This is a very important topic that concerns the future of the Demon Sealing clan." What are you talking about?" Still dazed, Yenhara asked him. In response, Yuan retrieved the ring head acquired from the 7th floor of the Demon Ceiling Pagoda as a reward and showed it to her. "Do you know what this is?" he asked her. Yenhara's eyes widened with shock when she saw the ring. Impossible. Why do you have that ring?" Yenhara was so shocked that she fell on her buttocks. Yuan smiled and said, "Let's go somewhere more private." C1051 Demon Sealing Ring. Chapter 1051 Demon Sealing Ring. That ring. Why?" Yenhara quickly got back to her feet and grabbed his hand to take a closer look at the ring, but she didn't dare to touch the ring with her own hands. "Is this real? If this is fake, you must destroy it immediately. If the leader of the Demon Sealing clan or the Grand Elders find out that you have something like this, they will give you a public execution." "Don't worry, it's real," Yuan said as he put the ring back into his spatial ring. "Let's go somewhere more private, shall we?" Yenhara nodded with a serious look on her face. Sometime later, Yenhara locked the both of them inside one of the study rooms in the Grand Library. This specific room was only accessible to Master Demon Sealers and above because it contained high-ranking demon sealing techniques, and it only allowed a limited number of people inside at once. 2 people exactly, so it was safe. "Tell me, little founder, where did you acquire that ring? Do you have any idea what that ring signifies?" Yenhara asked him in a nervous voice. "Of course I do. It's the Demon Sealing Ring, and only the leader of the Demon Sealer clan can hold this ring," Yuan said in a calm voice. Indeed, the ring head acquired from the Demon Sealing Pagoda was none other than the Demon Sealing Ring from when he was still the leader of the Demon Sealing clan. It was a precious item with a significant amount of history as well as importance behind it. But how? There should only be one in existence, and the current leader of the Demon Sealing clan has it? Yenhara mumbled in a dazed voice. "Jinshu? He has the spare one I gave to the Demon Sealing clan before I disappeared. The one I have is the original," Yuan casually said. "Excuse me? Before you disappeared? Who are you really, little founder?" Yuan smiled and said, "You still don't recognize me?" He found it quite humorous that Yenhara still couldn't recognize his identity despite being his biggest fan. "Then how about this?" Yuan suddenly activated the Demon Sealing Zone around them. "The Demon Sealing Zone? When did you learn this technique?" "I'm not done yet. Swords of Eternal Torment." He created the golden swords in the air. "I lied when I said this wasn't the Sword of Eternal Torment. Indeed, this is the lost technique of the Demon Sealing clan, Sword of Eternal Torment." Yenhara stared at these dazzling techniques before her with wide eyes and a gawking look on her pretty face. "Why, you can't be." No, although Yenhara had an idea about his true identity, she didn't dare to believe it. "Still not enough to convince you? Then how about this beauty?" Yuan retrieved the Demon Sealing sword and showed it to her. "That's..." Yenhara could feel her heart beating at her chest when she saw the beautiful sword. Although she's never personally seen it before, she has heard stories and read about it before. This chapter is updated by Friedenville, CM. A red blade with the words Demon Sealing engraved on it, Demon Sealing Sword, one of 3 demon sealing treasures wielded by the divine Paragon, Yenhara muttered in a dazed voice. Yuan then spoke in a calm voice, "Tian, although this name had been lost with the passage of time for most people, I have one more identity that you should be familiar with, Divine Paragon." Yenhara suddenly muttered out loud in a trembling voice, her eyes flowing with tears. "Is it really you?" Despite her powerful cultivation, Yenhara felt so weak at this moment that she couldn't even stand up, so she fell to her knees. "Yes, it's really me. Although I am now called Yuan, I used to be the divine Paragon. Although what Yuan said sounded unbelievable and borderline impossible, Yenhara did not doubt him at all, as she had already been suspicious of his true identity for a while now. After a moment of silence, Yenhara bowed her head until her forehead kissed the cold marble floor, and she spoke in a revering voice, "This junior greets senior. Welcome back to the Demon Sealing Clan, founder." "Stand up, Yenhara. I revealed my identity to you because I consider you a friend and I trust you." "I apologize, but I won't be able to stand up for a while," Yenhara said in an embarrassed voice. Yuan smiled and helped her up before carrying her to a nearby chair. "Thank you, senior," Yenhara said with a flushed face, looking like a young maiden before her crush. "Drop the formalities and continue calling me Yuan, or Little Founder. Either works. I also need to keep my identity a secret." Yuan chuckled. "I understand, Little Founder." Yenhara nodded. Sometime later, once Yenhara had calmed down enough, she asked, "If you don't mind me asking, why did you suddenly disappear for millions of years, Little Founder? And why did you decide to come back now?" Yuan smiled and said, "I didn't disappear. I died and reincarnated. I recently recalled my memories as the Divine Paragon, so here I am." "You died? How is that possible? Did a demon do it?" What came out of Yuan's mouth next nearly knocked Yenhara unconscious with shock. "Nope, I killed myself," Yuan casually uttered. "A suicide. But why in heaven's name would you do something like that?" "I have my reasons. Sorry for the inconvenience it caused, but it was an absolutely necessary thing for me to do. I don't dare to judge your decisions. If you did it, I'm sure it was for a good reason," Yenhara said with a bittersweet smile. "Anyways, I didn't plan on returning to the Demon Sealing Clan initially, even though my memories had returned, because I didn't want to mess up whatever you guys had going on, but with the situation between the Demon Sealing Clan and the Demon Sealing Grotto growing more dire, it seems I have no choice but to return, since I cannot sit by and watch fellow demon sealers destroy each other when you should be fighting demons instead. On the behalf of all of the demon sealers out there, I'm truly sorry. We have failed you and stained the Demon Sealing Clan's prestigious name." Yenhara sighed with her head lowered, not daring to look at Yuan's face due to shame. "Although the situation is pretty dire, it's not at the point of no return. We can still salvage the situation and put a stop to the fight," Yuan said. "What do you have in mind?" "First and foremost, we will need to get rid of Qianchu. I don't know what he's up to, but it's not good. At least that's what my instincts are telling me. The Demon Sealing Clan. My Demon Sealing Clan will collapse at this rate, and I am not going to sit still and watch a place that I built with my own hands being destroyed." Yuan spoke with a cold expression on his face, causing Yenhara to tremble. C1052 Divine Paragon's Legacy. Chapter 1052 Divine Paragon's Legacy. It's not going to be easy removing Qianchu from his position, unless you plan on using your identity to suppress him, Yenhara said with a worried look on her face. "I intend on using my identity. However, I will only do so after we have enough support on our side. Therefore, we need to focus on finding people we can trust and get them on our side, so when it comes time to fight Qianchu, it won't just be the two of us. I will leave this task to you." What? You want to leave such an important task to me? I don't think I am ready for it," Yenhara exclaimed in a terrified voice. "If you cannot do it, nobody else can. First and foremost, you're already a respected and well-known demon sealer within the Demon Sealing Clan. You also have a lot of experience in the Demon Sealing Clan, even more than me, since this place is no longer the Demon Sealing Clan that I once knew, so my experience might as well be thrown aside. Furthermore, as a master demon sealer, you should have connections to many high-ranking demon sealers. I want you to bring those that are trustworthy to our side." Yenhara swallowed nervously. "I'm afraid of bringing someone unworthy and putting our whole secret at risk. I trust in your judgment." Yuan smiled. After a moment of silence, Yenhara spoke in a defeated manner. "If you really think I have what it takes, I will do my best. Not that I could ever refuse the founder of the Demon Sealing Clan," she sighed inwardly. "That's what I like to hear. Of course, I won't just tell you to do all of this for free. In return for helping me, I will make you the strongest demon sealer in the whole Demon Sealing Clan and the Demon Sealing Grotto. I don't need any payment. I will gladly assist you even if I don't get anything in return. Not that I expected anything in the first place." Yenhara quickly shook her head. "Nonsense. You're my friend and trusted aide. It's only natural that I assist you in my own way, and as the founder of the Demon Sealing Clan, there is only one thing that I can offer you: guidance. Give me your forehead." Yuan suddenly beckoned her. Yes. Not knowing what to expect, Yenhara leaned her head forward. After a moment of silence, Yuan suddenly tapped her forehead with his finger that was emanating a glowing light. A multitude of information of demon sealing techniques that had been lost with the passage of time along with demon sealing techniques that Tian never shared quickly flowed inside Yenhara's mind. Yenhara sat there with a blank expression on her face as she absorbed all of this shocking information. Many minutes later, she snapped out of her daze and stared at Yuan with a shocked look on her face, her body trembling from excitement and many other emotions. I am officially making you my successor, the first demon sealer to become successor to the divine Paragon's legacy. Are you willing to accept this role? Yuan asked her with a smile on his face. Yenhara's jaw dropped to the ground after hearing his words. After a moment of silence, she spoke in a low voice, "You're asking me that after giving me so much priceless demon sealing techniques?" She didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so she did both at once. That's how much I trust you. Yuan chuckled. Sometime later, Yenhara got off her chair and kneeled before Yuan before kissing the floor with her forehead. She spoke in a kowtowing position. This unworthy junior will humbly accept this esteemed role as your successor. Yuan nodded. When the time is right, I will teach you the rest of the demon sealing techniques, including the ultimate demon sealing technique that I have only used once. I would teach you the swords of eternal torment as well as other demon sealing techniques that only I know, but I don't want you to make yourself a target for Qianchu. He will definitely go after those techniques. Once you are strong enough and with enough backing, I will teach the rest of them to you. I am already more than satisfied with the demon sealing techniques you have given me, Yenhara said. Anyways, let's talk more about the situation with the demon sealing clan and the demon sealing grotto. I also know very little about the latter. Tell me everything you know about them. Yuan said a moment later. Okay. Over the next several hours, Yenhara would talk about the whole situation in detail as well as answering any questions that Yuan had for her. Once all that was done, Yuan prepared to leave the demon sealing clan's grand library to return to the myriad of techniques. Do you have anything you want to tell me before I leave? Yuan asked her. Yenhara pondered for a moment before speaking with a bashful smile on her face. This may sound cliché, but I want to thank you for not abandoning the demon sealing clan and returning to us. According to the rumors out there, they say that you never really cared about the demon sealing clan. Yuan chuckled. The rumors are true. I never really cared for the demon sealing clan at first because it was created randomly. In fact, I wasn't the one who came up with the idea of creating the demon sealing clan. One of my followers came up with this suggestion as a joke, one that people took seriously, and before I was aware, the demon sealing clan had come into existence. The rest is history. Seriously? Yenhara was baffled after learning this shocking information. To think that the glorious demon sealing clan had started as a joke. Who knows how the demon sealers would react if they learned of this information. Anyways, I will come back here once in a while to hear about your progress. Until then. Yuan waved goodbye to Yenhara before disappearing from the grand library. C1053 Gates of Heaven. Chapter 1053 Gates of Heaven. After Yuan left the demon sealing clan's grand library, Yenhara also left, returning to the seventh heaven where she currently resided. Upon returning to her own realm, she retrieved multiple communication jade slips and contacted the people with the other jade slips to set up a meeting. Fellow sisters of the Divine Paragon Fan Club, I have something urgent to tell all of you. This involves the Divine Paragon and the future of the Demon Sealing Clan. Please meet me at the usual meeting spot as soon as possible. Thank you. After transmitting such words through the communication jade slips, Yenhara retrieved her flying treasure and disappeared into the distance like a shooting star. Meanwhile, Yuan returned to the myriad of techniques. Sorry for making you all wait. I'm back now. Yuan said to the others who were waiting in the lobby. Where are your techniques? He asked them when he couldn't see any techniques nearby. Actually, we couldn't get past the second floor and the techniques on the first two floors are not worth it. Chu Liuxiang sighed. Yuan face-bombed after realizing something. I'm sorry, I forgot that I had to be with you guys when traveling above the second floor. Let's go check out the fourth floor and the fifth floor now. All right. Thus, they began making their way to the fourth floor. Since Meishio and Chu Liuxiang had already explored the fourth floor, they didn't really pay much attention and flipped through random techniques to kill time. Meanwhile, Li Jinsi looked through each technique with great focus. Unbelievable. To think there are so many heaven rank and divine rank techniques in this place. Li Jinsi mumbled. There are more floors to this place with even more powerful techniques. Yuan said. Sometime later, after going through the whole 4th floor, Li Jinxi found one body refining technique that she liked. Are you done on this floor? So, let's check out the 5th floor. This will be our first time going to the 5th floor as well. Yuan asked them. Yes, we're ready. They nodded. Yuan and the others proceeded to move to the staircase to the 5th floor, but they were blocked by the guards there. Is this your first time going to the 5th floor? One of the guards asked. Yes. Yuan nodded. The guard then said, in order to enter the 5th floor, you must pass a small trial. Trial? What kind of trial? You must spar with a disciple from the gates of heaven. What? Yuan raised his eyebrows, his face full of questions. In order to train his disciples, Master Bai had set up this trial. Don't worry, it'll be a friendly spar, and it'll be done in a special arena where you cannot die even if your body explodes into a bloody mess. However, the weakest cultivator in their sect is a spirit sovereign, so you'll be fighting someone 2 realms above your own. Senior Bai is the sect leader of the gates of heaven. This is my first time hearing about this. Yuan mumbled. Alright, I will take on the challenge. But before we start, I have a few questions. What is it? Does everybody here have to take the trial to enter the 5th floor? Can I bring them with me if I pass the trial? The guards turned to look at the beauties behind Yuan and said, everyone will have to take the trial in order to enter the 5th floor. There is no exception. Yuan turned to look at Meishio and the others. While he can fight a spirit sovereign, he couldn't say the same for Meishio and the others as their cultivation was too low, and they would lose in a single attack. Don't worry about us, Yuan. You can go to the 5th floor alone. Meishio said to him. Yes, I'm already satisfied with what I have. Chu Liuxiang agreed. I am also the same. Li Jinxi said. Alright. Then I will take a quick look at the 5th floor. Yuan nodded. The guards looked at him with raised eyebrows, as he sounded absolutely sure that he would defeat a spirit sovereign. So where do I fight this disciple? Yuan then asked the guards. Follow me. I will bring you to the arena. One of the guards said to him. Okay. Sometime later, Yuan was transported to this large platform with the guard, but they were the only ones there. This place reminds me of the platform in the sky for the final trial in the stairway to heaven. Yuan thought to himself as he looked around. The only difference was the lack of house, tree, and the body-tempering pond. Where is this disciple? He asked the guard a moment later. I have just notified the gates of heaven about your arrival. A disciple will arrive shortly. I understand. Half an hour later, 2 people appeared out of thin air on the platform not far away from Yuan and began approaching him. They are... The guard's eyes widened with surprise when he saw these individuals, and he wondered to himself, why are they here? There's no way this young man could defeat this disciple. Yuan silently stared at these 2 individuals. One of them was an old woman with an unfathomable aura around her, and the other was a beautiful young woman also with an unfathomable aura around her. Even though their faces were tranquil and their steps were gentle and calm, Yuan could feel an indescribable pressure coming from these 2 women. These 2 stopped walking a few meters in front of Yuan, and the old woman said a moment later, so it's true. I couldn't believe it when you said that the challenger was a mere spirit king, so I came here to see for myself which arrogant little runt dared to challenge our disciple with such a weak cultivation. Greetings, Elder Mai and Disciple Ling. The guard greeted them with a respectful bow. This young man wishes to enter the 5th floor and has agreed to challenge a disciple from the gates of heaven. Introduce yourself. The guard said while looking at Yuan. My name is Yuan and am just an ordinary spirit king. Please treat me well. He calmly responded while staring into the old woman's eyes. Little runt, Elder Mai narrowed her eyes on him. C1054 Immortal Rendering Sword Strike. Chapter 1054 Immortal Rendering Sword Strike. Let's just get this over with, shall we? Disciple Ling suddenly spoke as she retrieved her sword. Aren't you going to introduce yourself too? Yuan asked her. And what are you going to do with such information? It's not like we'll ever meet again. Is that so? Although he didn't like her attitude, Yuan didn't care about it either. After all, this will most likely be their first and last meeting. The guard cleared his throat and said, then the rules are as followed. The 2 of you will fight each other until one of you either loses consciousness or dies. This arena is being protected with an immortal array, so you won't truly die even if you die as long as you are on this platform. He then turned to look at Yuan and said, if you lose this fight, you will not be able to challenge the gates of heaven again until 1 whole year has passed. Do you understand? I understand. Good. Then please stand in the red circles. I will begin the fight in 10 seconds. Yuan turned around to see a red circle marked on the platform a few meters and walked to it. His sparring partner also did the same. Once they were both in the red circle, Elder Mai and the guard moved away to give them space. The fight will now begin. The guard shouted 10 seconds later. However, neither Yuan nor his opponent, Disciple Ling, moved even seconds after the match had started. What's wrong? Are you too scared to move? Disciple Ling said in a provocative manner. No, I'm just wondering why you're not moving even though you said that you wanted this to be over as soon as possible. Yuan smiled. If I was in a hurry you'd have lost by now. Disciple Ling narrowed her eyes. A mere spirit king dares to look down on me? Disciple Ling's cultivation base suddenly soared. Peak spirit sovereign, huh? Exactly 2 realms above me. Yuan thought to himself. What a foolish little runt. He doesn't even know the difference between a spirit king and a spirit sovereign. A cold smile appeared on Elder Mei's face. The guard merely shook his head. Disciple Ling is one of the most talented disciples in the gates of heaven within the 5th heaven. There's no way some spirit king would be able to defeat her. Even though people were allowed access to the 5th floor the moment they entered the 3rd heaven, most people won't be able to pass the trial until they're at least a spirit sovereign. Die. Disciple Ling suddenly slashed her sword at Yuan without moving outside her red circle. A powerful sword light that was infused with sword aura flew at Yuan at incredible speed, reaching him in the blink of an eye. However, despite such a powerful strike flying at him, Yuan remained standing there without moving, almost as if he had no intentions of blocking the attack. So you came here just to waste my time, huh? Disciple Ling mumbled in a disappointed voice after seeing Yuan's lack of reaction. Whoosh. The sword light clashed with Yuan's bare body a split second later. Yuan was forced out of the red circle and pushed many meters away by the sword light, which baffled Disciple Ling and the 2 spectators. He survived the attack? The guard mumbled in a dazed voice. Yuan was a spirit king, and had just eaten the attack from a spirit sovereign with his bare body. It didn't make sense that his body wasn't immediately sliced in half by the attack. After the attack, Yuan casually patted his chest and walked back into the red circle. Is that all you've got? I barely felt that. I guess spirit sovereigns aren't that much stronger than a spirit king after all. Yuan said with a mocking smile on his face. Disciple Ling's body trembled in anger after hearing his words. If you thought that was my full power, you're dead wrong. That wasn't even 25% of my full power. I just didn't want to feel like I am bullying a weakling, so I purposefully held back. She exclaimed. Is that so? Then can you use 100% of your power next? I'd like to see what you're truly capable of. Yuan said. Unbelievable. This little runt is actually provoking her to use her full strength. Elder Mai muttered in a dazed voice. If that's what you want, then I will fulfill that wish. Disciple Ling shouted as she swung her sword again. This time, the sword light took the appearance of a blue dragon as it flew towards Yuan. Not bad. Yuan thought to himself as he retrieved his Empyrean Overlord. Immortal rendering sword strike. Yuan used this sword technique for the first time after seeing Tian use it in his dream. Whoosh. A massive wave of sword aura immediately swept the arena in front of him, consuming the blue dragon as well as Disciple Ling in an instant. Wah! Disciple Ling couldn't even react in time before her body was completely destroyed by the devastating attack. The guard fell on his buttocks after witnessing the attack, and Elder Mai could only stand there with her eyes and mouth wide open, almost as if she witnessed the impossible. Shortly after Disciple Ling's body was disintegrated into countless fragments, her body suddenly reappeared out of thin air on the floor, but she wasn't moving. Li Linger. Elder Mai immediately rushed to check on her disciple's condition. She sighed in relief after confirming that Disciple Ling was indeed alive. Then she turned to look at Yuan with a furious expression on her face. With that being said, she didn't show any signs of killing intent, which surprised Yuan. What was your name again? Elder Mai asked him. Yuan. Where are you from? Where I am currently or where I came from? Both. He smiled and said, I came from the lower heavens and I am currently in the 3rd heaven. Lower heavens. Impossible. Elder Mai cried inwardly. C1059 Heaven's Eternal Grotto. Chapter 1059 Heaven's Eternal Grotto. You said your name was Yuan, right? You never gave us your surname. Elder Mai asked him a moment later, as she suspected that he was from an influential family. I don't have anything like that. Anyways, if the match is over, can I leave now? I have people waiting for me outside. Yuan said in a calm manner. You think you can just leave after what you did to my disciple? Elder Mai narrowed her eyes at him, but once again Yuan couldn't sense any threatening feeling from it. Don't tell me you're going to fight me next even though I already won the match? He asked her. Why would I fight you? I was just going to. A portal suddenly appeared a few meters away from Yuan and Elder Mai. Then, an old man with long white hair calmly walked out of the portal with his hands clasped behind his back. When Elder Mai and the guards saw him, they immediately bowed to him. Sect Master Bai. Senior Bai? What are you doing here? Yuan was pleasantly surprised to see him appear in this place. How disrespectful. Do you know who you're before? Lower your head and greet him. Elder Mai suddenly shouted at him. It's fine. This young man is my friend. Senior Bai gestured for her to calm her with a gentle smile on his face. Elder Mai was speechless. I've watched your fight just now, Yuan. I must say you've grown tremendously since our last meeting and even your appearance changed a bit. You're almost like a different person. Senior Bai said while approaching him. Anyways, why don't we chat in a more quiet place? Sure. Yuan nodded. Senior Bai proceeded to make another portal before entering it. Yuan didn't say anything to the others and followed Senior Bai, disappearing from the platform. Once they were gone, Elder Mai turned to look at the guard and asked him, Who was that young man just now? Is it true that he came from the third heaven? He nodded. Yes, it's true, but I don't know anything about him. He came out of the blue and requested to go to the 5th floor. Elder Mai turned to look at her disciple, who was still unconscious, and sighed. When I heard that a spirit king dared to challenge the gates of heaven, I immediately thought about putting an ignorant little runt in his place. However, it turns out that I had been the ignorant one. I hope this defeat won't hinder my disciple's future cultivation too much, but honestly, I'm probably hoping for too much, as even I would be depressed after such a devastating defeat. Elder Mai carried her unconscious disciple away, disappearing from the platform, leaving the guard alone and puzzled. After following Senior Bai, Yuan found himself on the floating platform again. I was really shocked when I saw your improvements, especially when I realized that you have achieved a perfect physique. Senior Bai said to him once they sat down. Do you know how many people out there would kill for a perfect physique? I remember trying to acquire one myself, but I failed, yet here you are, not even 100 years old and already with a perfect physique. Senior Bai chuckled in a bittersweet manner. Did something happen? Yuan asked him. He nodded. Do you remember when I told you about the 9 Heavens Eternal Grotto? The 4 escaped immortals? Yes. We managed to track down 3 of them and brought 2 of them back to the 9 Heavens Eternal Grotto, but it was at a heavy cost. Thousands of cultivators died, and a few of my good friends also perished during the struggle. Wait. Only 2 returned to the 9 Heavens Eternal Grotto? Did they kill one of them? Yuan asked. Hardly. The 3rd immortal had managed to escape, and that's why I am reaching out to you. Senior Bai said, and he continued, the escaped immortal had somehow managed to escape to the lower heavens, so you might come across this immortal. Wait a minute? Isn't that very bad? What if they suddenly decide to wreak havoc in the lower heavens? I don't think I have the capabilities to do anything to this immortal. I am well aware of that. I'm not telling you to seek this immortal and kill them for me. I am just letting you know so that you're aware of the situation. With that being said, the immortal is heavily injured after escaping, so they will be powerless for a bit. Yuan nodded. I won't be actively searching for this immortal, but I will keep a lookout for them. Do you know which of the lower heaven they've run to? And what about this immortal's appearance? The immortal can be anywhere between the 3rd heaven and the 6th heaven. As for their appearance, to be honest, we don't know either. This immortal is always shrouded with darkness, so we can't tell their gender or appearance. Shrouded with darkness, huh? Even if you don't know their appearance, you will immediately know if this immortal is nearby. Senior Bai suddenly said. How? Yuan raised an eyebrow. You will understand it once you feel it. Even if this immortal suppresses their cultivation, they cannot suppress their natural aura. You will feel an intense chill down your spine when this immortal is near. I understand. Yuan nodded. Sometime later, Senior Bai spoke. Anyways, now that is out of the way, do you have any questions for me before I leave? Actually, I do. Do you think it's possible for me to bring my friends to the 5th floor of the myriad of techniques? I want to give them some techniques. You mean your girlfriends? Senior Bai smiled. Yuan nodded, not denying it. I will make an exception for you only if you do me a favor. Senior Bai then said. What kind of favor? I will let you know when the time comes. Don't worry, it's nothing dangerous or crazy. You can even refuse it when the time comes and you don't like it. And, since this is a new arc and we've just arrived in the 3rd heaven, I needed to take a few days to outline the plot. There will be 4 plus more chapters today. C1056 Attacking Senior Bai. Chapter 1056 Attacking Senior Bai. After pondering for a moment, Yuan agreed to Senior Bai's offer. Since I can refuse it, I don't mind. Great. Then take this. Senior Bai proceeded to hand him a medallion. As long as you have this, you will be able to take as many people as you want to the floors that you currently have access to, so you won't be able to go to the 6th floor right now since you don't have access to it. Is this good enough? This is more than enough. Thank you, Senior. Yuan bowed to him before accepting the medallion. Anything else? A few more actually, Yuan said with a smile. Does the myriad of techniques have any soul cultivation techniques? He then asked. Soul cultivation techniques? Those are incredibly rare even in the upper heavens. As generous as I am, even I wouldn't put something that precious in the myriad of techniques. I see. That's a pity. Why do you want a soul cultivation technique? Are you cultivating any spiritual techniques at the moment? Yuan nodded. Yes, I am. Senior Bai pondered for a moment before speaking. Show me this technique. I will help you acquire a soul cultivation technique if I think it's worth it. Show you? You want me to attack you? Yuan asked just in case there was a misunderstanding. That's right. Senior Bai said as he flew off the platform and into the spacious sky. Don't worry about hurting me. If you can injure me with your cultivation, I will immediately quit being a cultivator. Yuan smiled and said, Are you sure you want to say such a risky thing? I might accidentally hurt you. Senior Bai laughed. Then how about this? If you can hurt me, I will not only help you find a soul cultivation technique, but I will also pay for it. Deal? Yuan flew off the platform and hovered about 50 meters away from Senior Bai. Whenever you're ready. Senior Bai said, acting completely nonchalant about the whole situation, clearly very confident that Yuan wouldn't be able to hurt him no matter what. Yuan didn't immediately attack Senior Bai as well, and he silently pondered, his cultivation is incredibly profound. Besides Xu Jiaqi and the Great One, he's definitely the strongest cultivator I have encountered. Yuan knew that he wouldn't be able to damage Senior Bai if he half-assed his attempt. Therefore, he could only go all out and treat it as though it was a life-or-death situation. He closed his eyes and took several deep breaths. When he reopened them, his eyes emanated a golden glow that sent shivers down Senior Bai's back. What is he doing? Senior Bai swallowed nervously. Whoosh! A golden aura suddenly shrouded Yuan's figure, causing the atmosphere there to change. This is... Senior Bai's eyes widened with shock after sensing the unfathomable pressure from the aura. In his entire life, this is probably the most powerful technique that he's witnessed. The technique is neither flashy nor grand, but it exudes an unfathomable pressure that would make even immortals tremble in fear. Before this golden aura, one's cultivation and talent doesn't matter. This technique transcends all common sense and the very law of this universe. Where did he learn such a heaven-defying technique? After activating heaven's supremacy, Yuan took another deep breath. I didn't think I would use the second one so quickly after the first, but this is for the soul cultivation technique. It's worth it as long as I can damage Senior Bai even slightly. God of War's astral arts. Yuan proceeded to use his second most powerful technique, summoning the golden avatar behind him. Senior Bai had to tilt his head to see the avatar, his eyes and mouth wide open from shock. Impossible. This technique is God of War's astral arts. Why does he know this technique? Senior Bai recognized this technique, but that only made him even more shocked. Because Yuan had heaven's supremacy active, his avatar created by the God of War's astral arts was many times larger than before, and compared to the avatar, Senior Bai's figure was akin to a speck of dust. Heavens! What have I gotten myself into? Senior Bai muttered in a dazed voice as Yuan made his first movement. He slashed horizontally, sending the massive sword wielded by the avatar crashing down on Senior Bai. However, despite that, Senior Bai didn't move and remained hovering there with his arms clasped behind his back. Boom! The sword clashed with Senior Bai's body the next moment, creating a powerful ripple that swept all of the clouds away, as well as the nearby platforms. Yuan gritted his teeth when he saw that the attack hadn't been able to push Senior Bai back even an inch. Therefore, he decided to attack again. Boom! Since Senior Bai didn't specify how many times he could attack him, Yuan would continue to send a barrage of attacks at Senior Bai's way until he ran out of spiritual energy and soul strength. And during his last strike, Yuan poured all of his spiritual energy and soul strength into the attack. The attack was so powerful that it could probably destroy an entire continent. Despite that, Senior Bai remained in the same position, seemingly unharmed from all of the attacks. A bittersweet smile appeared on Yuan's face after seeing the results. I give up. You're much stronger than I thought, Senior Bai. Yuan said to him as his golden aura and avatar went away. Senior Bai didn't respond. It was at this moment Yuan finally noticed the expression on Senior Bai's face, and he looked like someone who just learned a shocking revelation, as his face was absolutely hysterical and filled with shock. Yuan swallowed nervously after seeing this, and he waited for Senior Bai to snap out of his daze. Several moments later, Senior Bai closed his mouth and eyes and took a deep breath. Looks like I won't be able to leave anytime soon, as we still have a lot to talk about, Yuan. C1057 Founder of the Celestial Overlord. Chapter 1057 Founder of the Celestial Overlord. With a casual wave of his sleeves, Senior Bai refilled the empty landscape with clouds and floating platforms. He flew to the nearest platform and proceeded to wait for Yuan, who was completely exhausted after unleashing literally all of his strongest attacks on Senior Bai. Yuan took a seat, but Senior Bai remained standing there for some reason. You don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, nor am I going to force you. Yuan, that technique you used just now, God of War's astral arts, where did you learn it? Senior Bai suddenly asked him. Yuan's eyes widened slightly as he didn't expect Senior Bai to recognize such an ancient technique. I encountered it by chance, that is all I'm willing to say. Sorry. Yuan said after a moment of silence. Senior Bai shook his head. There's no need for you to apologize. I am the one who should apologize since I am the one breaking the unspoken rule of never asking another cultivator about how they acquired their techniques. Now allow me to ask you another question. Do you know the origin of that technique? No, I do not. Yuan lied with a straight face. As much as he trusts Senior Bai, he believed that the fewer people knew about his past lives the better. After all, there could be enemies out there that he didn't know about, and if news of his reincarnation spread, he could potentially be hunted by ancient monsters that have lived for millions of years, especially since one of his past lives was the evil god. The God of War's astral arts. It was the founder of the Celestial Overlord's technique. Senior Bai said with a solemn look on his face. Yuan raised an eyebrow after hearing this unexpected answer. Founder of the Celestial Overlord? Unless the God of War also happened to be the Celestial Overlord's founder, that shouldn't be possible. I have a question. What era did the Celestial Overlord's founder exist in? Around 2 million years ago. 2 million years. The God of War should have existed in the primordial era, so they cannot be the same person. The only explanation for this is, the founder of the Celestial Overlord is one of my past lives, and Senior Bai believes that he is the original owner of the God of War's astral arts when that is not the case. Although he had his suspicions that the founder of the Celestial Overlord was one of his past lives because they both had the same physique, there wasn't any other proof until now. It's him? 2 million years ago? You're that old? Amazing. Yuan realized this and praised him. It's only 2 million years. There are plenty of monsters out there that have lived far longer than I. Senior Bai shook his head. One more question, Senior Bai. Do you know the name of the founder? Yuan then asked, as he wanted to see if he could remember anything after hearing the name. However, Senior Bai shook his head and said, unfortunately, I wasn't worthy to hear his name. If you want to know his name, you will have to ask Xu Jiaqi. She's the only member left who knows his name. Is that so? Thank you. If you don't have any other questions, I will continue asking mine. Go ahead. Yuan nodded. My next question is related to that golden aura. I have seen similar techniques before, but none of them exuded such a terrifying pressure. Just thinking about it makes my skin crawl. Does it have a name? Yuan showed a bittersweet smile and said, I'm really sorry, but I also have no idea. I don't even know how I acquired the technique, but it seems to boost my strength by a tremendous amount. Do you think I can take a closer look at it? Senior Bai suddenly asked. About that. I also don't know how to control it. It only appears when it feels like it. It was by pure coincidence that I managed to use it just now as well, probably because I really wanted the soul cultivation technique. Senior Bai pondered for a moment before speaking. That technique is incredibly profound and powerful. The day you can control it is the day you will control the 9 heavens. That is what I believe it. Control the 9 heavens? I don't have such ambitions. Yuan chuckled. The two of them continued to talk for a little longer before Senior Bai said, anyways, as much as I want to continue chatting with you, it's about time I leave. Do you have anything else for me? Actually, I do. Yuan nodded and he continued, now that I am a peak spirit king, my cultivation won't continue until I upgrade my physique, but I still have no idea how to do so. I have tempered my body and even achieved perfect physique, but it doesn't seem to have any effects on my heaven-refining physique. Can you ask Miss Su if she could help me find more information about my physique? I'm sure the upper heavens will have more information than what's available down here. Senior Bai nodded. I don't mind. I'm going to see her in a bit anyway. As for your soul cultivation technique, I will help you find one. Thank you. Yuan bowed to him before leaving the place and returning to the myriad of techniques. Once Yuan left, Senior Bai looked at his hands that were still trembling from excitement and mumbled, "He really attacked me with the intention of killing me. If it weren't for my cultivation, I would have been in danger there. No, even with my cultivation he actually managed to pierce my defenses and land a hit on me." Although Yuan had managed to land a hit on Senior Bai, he didn't leave any marks, so Senior Bai is technically unharmed. With that being said, the fact that he, a mere spirit king, was able to break through my defense, is a miracle in itself. If people knew that a spirit king had landed a hit on me, they would try to covet his talent at all cost, and I would become a laughingstock. This is a secret that I must take to the grave. Senior Bai left the place with a bittersweet smile. C1058 A Trade. Chapter 1058 A Trade. Sometime after leaving his world that was connected with the myriad of techniques, Senior Bai went to meet with Xu Jiaqi. Lady Su, I apologize for keeping you waiting. The young man came to the myriad of techniques again and I couldn't help myself and went to speak with him. He's changed a lot since our last meeting, both his appearance and strength. Senior Bai said to Xu Jiaqi shortly after arriving. Young man? Are you talking about him? What did you talk about with him? Xu Jiaqi's interest was immediately piqued. Senior Bai couldn't help but smile at her reaction. She normally keeps herself out of other people's business, but when it comes to Yuan she always wants to be involved. You're not going to believe me when I say this, but he managed to defeat a spirit sovereign as a spirit king during a trial to access the 5th floor of the myriad of techniques, and it was an overwhelming victory on his end. Not bad, I suppose? Xu Jiaqi said in a nonchalant manner, seemingly not impressed by it. That kind of talent is only natural for someone with the heaven-refining physique, she thought to herself. After the match, we had a small conversation, and he wanted me to help him look for a soul cultivation technique. Did you agree to help him? She asked. He nodded. Yes, I did, but only after I tested him. Don't be too shocked when you hear this, but that young man. He somehow acquired the technique that the celestial overlord's founder used, the god of war's astral arts. He what? Xu Jiaqi suddenly exclaimed in a voice so powerful that it literally shook the entire place. Are you sure it was the god of war's astral arts? She quickly asked him. Yes, I am certain, since he used it on me as part of the test. Senior Bai nodded. God of war's astral arts. Xu Jiaqi took a few steps back and stared at the ground with a dazed look on her face. Over the next several moments, she would recall the memories of the god of war's astral arts being used by the founder of the celestial overlord. Where? Did he tell you where he found it? Xu Jiaqi suddenly asked in a low voice. I tried asking, but he didn't want to tell me. I don't blame him, considering how valuable that technique is. After another moment of silence, a resolute look appeared on Xu Jiaqi's ethereal face as she spoke. Bring me to the myriad of techniques. I want to speak with him. What about the meeting? The Celestial Emperor will be at the meeting this time as well. It wouldn't be wise to. Xu Jiaqi glared at him with a sharp gaze that could literally pierce one's body. Fortunately for Senior Bai, his cultivation was high enough to block the gaze. All right. Senior Bai quickly gave up and sighed with a bittersweet smile on his face. He then opened a portal to his world and entered it with Xu Jiaqi. Meanwhile, Yuan had just returned to the myriad of techniques and entered the 5th floor with the others after showing the guard Senior Bai's medallion. I can't believe it. Did he really beat a disciple from the gates of heaven? The guard that stayed behind asked the other guard who led Yuan to the arena. The guard nodded with a nervous look on his face. Not only did he defeat the disciple, he completely destroyed her. Did they give him a super weak opponent because of his Spirit King cultivation? The guard shook his head. No. You probably won't believe this, but his opponent wasn't an outer court disciple but an inner court disciple, and it was the famous disciple Ling. Disciple Ling? You don't mean exactly that disciple Ling? Unbelievable. No wonder why Senior Bai gave him the medallion. At the 5th floor, Yuan said to the ladies, go ahead and look around. Let me know when you're done because I will also be looking around. Okay. However, shortly after he started looking at the techniques, Senior Bei's voice resounded inside his head as a portal appeared beside him. Yuan, I'm sorry but can you come back for a moment? Xu Jiaqi would like to speak with you and she won't take no for an answer. Xu Jiaqi? What does she want from me? Yuan wondered to himself. Xiaohua Feng Feng Ying, can you wait for me here? He said to them as he didn't want to risk Xu Jiaqi meeting with Xiaohua, and not wanting her to be left out, he asked the others to stay with her. Once they left his body, Yuan said to them, Thank you. I will be right back. And if the others ask where I am, let them know where I went. Yuan entered the portal shortly after, disappearing from the myriad of techniques and appearing in Senior Bei's world literally minutes after he just left. When he arrived at the platform, Senior Bai and Xu Jiaqi were waiting. Yuan bowed to them. Greetings, Lady Xu and Senior Bai. Xu Jiaqi raised an eyebrow after noticing the way he addressed her had changed from Miss Xu to Lady Xu, implying that he was no longer as ignorant as before. Yuan, I won't waste your time and get straight to the point. I want the God of War's astral arts. Xu Jiaqi suddenly said. Yuan looked at her with widened eyes, clearly surprised by her sudden demand. Seeing his reaction, Xu Jiaqi continued, Of course I am not asking you to hand over the technique for free. You're looking for a soul cultivation technique, right? In exchange for the God of War's astral arts, I will give you the strongest soul cultivation technique that I can acquire. She wants to trade a soul cultivation technique for my God of War's astral arts? Why does she want this technique? What does it mean to her? Yuan silently wondered to himself. C1059 Xu Jiaqi? Chapter 1059 Xu Jiaqi. Although the God of War's astral arts is a powerful technique, I don't mind sharing it, especially if I can acquire a powerful soul cultivation technique from it. Xu Jiaqi, she's a powerful cultivator with plenty of influence even within the upper heavens. If it's someone like her, I will definitely acquire an extremely powerful soul cultivation technique. While Yuan pondered, Xu Jiaqi suddenly said in a low voice, In your eyes, the God of War's astral arts may be nothing more than a powerful technique. However, the God of War's astral arts is more than just a technique to me, it's the founder of the celestial overlord, my father's technique. Huh? Yuan suddenly halted all of his thoughts and looked at Xu Jiaqi's beautiful face with a baffled look on his face. What did you say? The founder of the celestial overlord is your father? Yuan didn't dare to believe it. If Xu Jiaqi was truly his daughter in his past life, then what would their relationship be right now? Would they still be considered father and daughter? Yes, he is my father, but we're not blood related. He saved my life when I was on the verge of death. I was just a young mortal who didn't even know about cultivation at that time, and ever since then, I followed him around the 9 heavens while training under him. We started out as a teacher and disciple, but he eventually accepted me as his adoptive daughter. Yuan was relieved to find out that Xu Jiaqi wasn't his real daughter but an adoptive one. Since she's my adoptive daughter, I guess there's no harm in giving her the technique. After taking a deep breath, Yuan spoke in a calm voice, All right, you have a deal. In exchange for my God of War's astral arts, you will give me a soul cultivation technique. Really? An excited look appeared on Xu Jiaqi's face, but she quickly concealed it, returning to her serious face. Yes, for real. Give me your forehead, I will transfer the technique to you right now. Yuan said. Huh? You're willing to give it to me right now even though I don't even have your soul cultivation technique? Are you stupid or what? Xu Jiaqi couldn't help but make this remark even though it could easily backfire on her. Yuan chuckled at her insult. That's quite harsh, Lady Xu. How can you call me stupid when I am doing this out of generosity and trust? Xu Jiaqi cleared her throat after hearing his words. I apologize, I subconsciously blurted that out just now because I was surprised that you would be willing to hand over such a powerful technique to me so easily. I'm not used to it. So do you want the technique now or? Yuan continued to smile. I do. Xu Jiaqi nodded before she leaned forward. Yuan calmly raised his arm and gently tapped her forehead. Senior Bai watched this historical moment with wide eyes. This is the first time I've seen Lady Xu willingly let another man touch her body, and even on her bare skin directly. He thought to himself. Meanwhile, Yuan transferred the God of War's astral arts to Xu Jiaqi, who felt oddly nostalgic for some reason. This feeling. It's the same as when father transferred his techniques to me. Xu Jiaqi thought to herself as she quickly absorbed the information. A few moments later, Xu Jiaqi opened her eyes, which flickered with profoundness within. It's done. Yuan lowered his hand and said to her. Xu Jiaqi didn't say anything and suddenly turned around before flying off the platform, almost as if she was running away. However, she stopped shortly after and proceeded to hover in the air. A few moments later, her body suddenly exuded an unfathomable aura that swept the place like a tsunami. "Thank you, Senior Bai," Yuan suddenly said. "No problem." Senior Bai smiled. If Senior Bai hadn't protected him with his own spiritual energy right before Xu Jiaqi released her pressure, he would have sustained heavy internal injuries. Of course, Xu Jiaqi was also confident that Senior Bai would protect Yuan. "Even with Senior Bai protecting me, my body feels incredibly heavy, almost as though I have a star on my back. So this is what it's like to be a cultivator at the peak of the 9 heavens." Yuan began sweating profusely, his body quickly becoming soaked. Suddenly, a massive golden avatar materialized behind Xu Jiaqi, which had some differences compared to Yuan's avatar. Xu Jiaqi's avatar was not only much larger, but it was also clearly a female avatar, almost like a goddess, and the weapon it was wielding also looked different. "Damn," Yuan subconsciously muttered out loud when he saw the majestic avatar behind Xu Jiaqi. "That isn't even half of her full power." Senior Bai suddenly said, "If she unleashes any more of her power, this space will be destroyed, so she's holding back right now." Yuan swallowed nervously after hearing such words. Meanwhile, Xu Jiaqi had her head turned and tilted as her gaze was fixated on the avatar behind her. "Father." Sometime later, Xu Jiaqi deactivated the technique and returned to the platform. "So, what did you think? Is it the same god of war's astral arts, the same one you know?" Yuan asked her with a smile. "Yes, it's definitely the same technique. I owe you for this, Yuan." "Lady Xu. I hate to interrupt you, but they're calling for us," Senior Bai suddenly said while pointing to the communication jade slip resting on his palm. Xu Jiaqi sighed. "We have to go now, Yuan. Come back here in 1 month. I will have your soul cultivation technique ready by then." "Take your time, Lady Xu." Yuan nodded with a smile on his face. Senior Bai created a portal for Yuan to leave shortly after. Once he was gone, Senior Bai and Xu Jiaqi also left that world before making their way to the meeting. C1060 Lost Legacy. Chapter 1060 Lost Legacy. As they made their way to the meeting, Senior Bai realized something. "Oh yeah, Lady Xu, I forgot to tell you. Yuan also wants to see if you can acquire any more information on the heaven refining physique. He's acquired the perfect physique, but his heaven refining physique hasn't been upgraded yet. I will look into that after I acquire the soul cultivation technique," she calmly said. Senior Bai smiled and said, "Because you're going to help him find a soul cultivation technique, my agreement with him is now useless. I guess I will have to find something else to give him." Head promised Yuan that he'd help him find a soul cultivation technique if Yuan could injure him. But since Xu Jiaqi is also giving him a soul cultivation technique, he would only be wasting resources by giving Yuan another soul cultivation technique. One that will most likely be inferior to the one Xu Jiaqi will be giving him. Therefore he decided to find something else to give Yuan. He really resembles father. Xu Jiaqi silently recalled Yuan's appearance. Now that Yuan looked more mature and even grew a little taller, his resemblance to the founder of the Celestial Overlord became even more clearer and obvious to her. When she first met Yuan, she noticed that Yuan and her adoptive father had similar eyes, but everything else from his demeanor to his aura was completely different. This was the same during their second meeting. However, on their third meeting just now, Yuan had changed so much that she almost mistook him for her father. Why does he resemble father so much? Don't tell me he's one of my father's true descendants? No. Father never had a wife or children, at least not to my knowledge. Sometime later, they arrived at the meeting, where hundreds of individuals were gathered. Each of these individuals emanated an unfathomable aura that only immortal cultivators that have achieved the apex of cultivation could emit. "How can you be this late when the Celestial Emperor himself had scheduled this meeting, Xu Jiaqi? Bailinyu? We even had to contact you before you showed up." One of the figures there said out loud when they arrived, her voice filled with contempt. "You better have a good explanation for making the Celestial Emperor wait." Another person said. "How disrespectful to the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Overlords are getting more arrogant by the day." Multiple people there expressed their disdain without any filters or fear for Xu Jiaqi. It was clear that she had some enemies within this place. However, Xu Jiaqi remained tranquil and said, "Is this the right place for the meeting? I didn't know dogs would be allowed to participate." Color me surprised. "Xu Jiaqi. You bitch. You dare call us dogs?" "I sure did. What are you going to do about it? Bite me? Go ahead and try it if you dare." "Settle down." A calm yet authoritative voice suddenly resounded in the meeting room. This voice carried a profound aura that made these immortals that could destroy stars with a fist subconsciously lower their heads. Xu Jiaqi turned to look at the person who just spoke. He was sitting at the end of the room and was looking down at them from a tall platform. "Why are you late, Celestial Overlord Xu?" The voice returned. "I had some important matters to attend first," she calmly responded. "Oh? A matter that is even more important than what is happening here? I'd like to hear it if you don't mind." The voice sounded genuinely curious. And without explaining further, Xu Jiaqi suddenly released her cultivation, sending ripples throughout the area. What the hell do you think you're doing in the Celestial Emperor's presence? Have you gone mad, Xu Jiaqi? Stop it right now. The people there shouted when they sensed her indomitable aura, but nobody there actually dared to stop her, as they were all waiting for the others to move first. As for the Celestial Emperor, he remained on his golden throne with a calm expression on his face, seemingly unfazed by the development. A few seconds later, a massive golden avatar materialized behind Xu Jiaqi, shocking everyone in the room, as most of them actually recognized this technique. Even the Celestial Emperor couldn't remain calm after seeing the God of War's astral arts. "This is why I am late. Do I need to explain myself any further?" Xu Jiaqi spoke a moment later. "Is that technique what I think it is?" The Celestial Emperor asked her. "God of War's astral arts." The people there muttered after hearing the Celestial Emperor's question. "Would you like to see for yourself whether this technique is real or not, Your Majesty?" Xu Jiaqi asked him with a daring smile on her face. The Celestial Emperor chuckled. "As much as I want to entertain a beauty such as yourself, I will have to decline your offer. This place has history that goes all the way back to the primordial realm, so I would prefer it if we don't make a mess here. Now if you'll excuse me." The Celestial Emperor suddenly waved his sleeves in a casual manner, and the very next moment, the golden avatar behind Xu Jiaqi shattered into countless tiny fragments. "Anyways, does this mean you have found the founder of Celestial Overlord's lost legacy?" The Celestial Emperor then asked her. Xu Jiaqi remained silent, but not because she didn't want to answer his question. In fact, she couldn't, as she didn't know either. "I was too hasty to acquire the technique and forgot to ask Yuan where had acquired the technique." She sighed inwardly. After a moment of silence, she said, "I don't know because I had to rush here right after acquiring the technique." "You don't know? Then how did you acquire it?" The Celestial Emperor asked out of curiosity. "I will not be sharing such information, considering how many people here covet my father's legacy," Xu Jiaqi calmly said as she swept the crowd there with a cold gaze. C1061 Celestial Emperor's Request. Chapter 1061 Celestial Emperor's Request. "You're right. I was being insensitive just now. Let's end the topic here and return to the reason I've gathered all of you here today," the Celestial Emperor said a moment later. When the people there heard this, they cursed inwardly. Fuck. That Xu Jiaqi definitely found their ancestor's lost legacy. Considering how powerful their ancestor was when he was alive, the Celestial Overlord will become more powerful than ever now. This is bad. The Celestial Overlords will completely overshadow the other factions. Our faction soon. The Immortals there were nervous because the Celestial Overlords were already at the top of the faction ranking. Now that they have their ancestors' lost legacy, their power will skyrocket, allowing them to completely dominate the faction ranking, and nobody there wanted that to happen. However, there was nothing they could do about it. Unless they could somehow steal the lost legacy from the Celestial Overlords, the Celestial Overlords will, without doubt, grow. Sometime later, once Xu Jiaqi and Senior Bai took their seats, the Celestial Emperor spoke. "I have gathered all of you today for one simple reason." After a slight pause, he continued, "The heavens have spoken recently." "What?" Everybody there was shocked to hear this, including Xu Jiaqi. Not long ago, the heavens became aware of a certain individual. The heavens believe this person to be related to the evil god and demand for his extermination as soon as possible. Evil god. Everybody there experienced another wave of shock after hearing this name. Follow current novels on Freebnovel. Evil god. The monster that soaked the 9 heavens in blood and a heretic who slayed the first Celestial Emperor. Why is his name relevant in this day and age? The Immortals wondered to themselves. The Celestial Emperor continued, "I know what all of you are thinking. What does the evil god have to do with this, and what in heaven's name is happening? Unfortunately, I don't have the answers at this moment. All I know is that we must exterminate this person as soon as possible before he does anything crazy. And before you ask, I do not know the identity of this person nor his appearance. However, I do know that he was last spotted in the 3rd heaven." The third heaven? The people there became even more puzzled. How could someone with connections to the evil god be in such a lowly place? Someone there suddenly raised his hand and said, "Your Majesty, if this person is in the third heaven, there's nothing we can do about it. Or are you telling us to send people down there? To travel from the supreme heaven to spirit heaven will require a tremendous amount of resources." The celestial emperor calmly nodded. "This is not an order. I am merely requesting your help at this moment. The first 10 people to accept my request will receive my support. This means you will be able to send people to third heaven without needing to worry about using any resources. Of course, you will be compensated for your efforts as well. Furthermore, the one to exterminate the heretic will be rewarded handsomely." "I will do it." "Me too." 10 people raised their hands and accepted his quest immediately. In fact, over 70% of the people there raised their hands almost simultaneously. The celestial emperor nodded with a content smile on his face. "Very well. Since everyone is so eager to assist me, I will fully support everyone here. However, since there are so many people accepting my request, we will limit each faction, family, or sect to only one person." Sometime later, someone there asked, "Your Majesty, are there any leads to finding this heretic? Without any information on this individual, it would be impossible to find him even if all of us send our entire forces down there." "We have a lead. Once you arrive in the third heaven, go speak with the G family there. They should know of the situation and the identity of this person, as they were the ones who helped the heavens become aware of his presence," the celestial emperor said. The meeting continued for a few more hours until the celestial emperor dismissed them. "What should we do, Lady Xu? Should we also send down someone? Even though we're not obligated to assist the celestial emperor, it would look bad on us and the celestial overlord, especially when the evil god is involved." Senior Bai asked her. Xu Jiaqi pondered for a moment before speaking. "There's no need for us to send anyone down there. After all, we already have someone within the third heaven who can help us with this matter." "You don't mean—" "Yes, well, have Yuan help us exterminate this heretic. He is definitely strong enough for this task. In fact, he might even be stronger than the people the others send down there because they have to restrict their cultivation. Meanwhile, Yuan is a spirit king who can defeat even spirit sovereign. Then I will immediately let him. There's no need to rush it. Even if the celestial emperor and the others hurry, they will still need some time to prepare. I will let Yuan know about the matter when we see each other again in a month." Xu Jiaqi said. "I understand." Shortly after the celestial emperor ended the meeting, several people there approached Xu Jiaqi and Senior Bai. A cold smile appeared on Xu Jiaqi's face when she saw their faces, and she spoke in a calm voice. "If you're here to ask me about my father's legacy, you can save your breath." These people looked at each other with perplexed faces. "So it's true that you've recovered your ancestors' lost legacy? Let's not be so hasty, Lady Xu. I'm sure we can work something out. Even if it's just a single piece of treasure, we're willing to negotiate." "Do you really intend on hogging the legacy all for yourself? That isn't very wise, Xu Jiaqi." Xu Jiaqi sneered. "What I do with my father's legacy is up to me. If you want it, why don't you take it from me, if you have the capability, that is." Chapter 1062? Published at 20th of July 2022 8:46 and 47 seconds AM. Chapter 1062. Chapter 1062 Lady Xiang. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1062 Lady Xiang. When the immortals heard Xu Jiaqi's words, a look of disgust appeared on their faces, almost as though they'd accidentally swallowed a live fly. Xu Jiaqi suddenly noticed a certain figure in the distance, who appeared to be leaving the place. "Now if you'll excuse me, I have some important business to attend to." And without explaining any further, Xu Jiaqi disappeared from her spot and appeared in front of this individual she had been staring at. Oh. This individual was surprised when Xu Jiaqi appeared before her like a ghost. "It's been a while, Lady Xiang," Xu Jiaqi said, her attitude towards this woman being the complete opposite of how she treats the others, almost as though they were friends. "Lady Xu? You really startled me just now. I thought I was under attack or something." Lady Xiang sighed. "Sorry, but I really needed to speak with you, and it looked like you were about to leave." "Oh? What do you want to talk to me about?" "Let's go somewhere more private, shall we?" Xu Jiaqi said. Lady Xiang nodded. "I have a villa nearby. Let's go there." Xu Jiaqi turned to look at Senior Bai and said to him, "You can return without me." "I understand. If you need anything, call me." Senior Bai didn't want to linger around any longer due to the people there and disappeared almost immediately, almost as though had been teleported away. As I thought, she's going to get that soul cultivation technique for him? It's not going to be cheap even for someone like her. Senior sighed inwardly as the image of Lady Xiang's face appeared in his head. Sometime later, Xu Jiaqi sat down with Lady Xiang in her villa. I will get straight to the point, Lady Xiang. I would like to purchase your soul cultivation technique. Xu Jiaqi said to her. Lady Xiang slowly lowered the tea in her grasp and stared at Xu Jiaqi with a baffled look on her face. I'm sorry, I don't think I heard you properly just now. Can you repeat it just in case? Lady Xiang said a moment later. Your soul cultivation technique. I need it. A stiff smile appeared on Lady Xiang's face when she realized that she hadn't heard wrong just now, and she asked in a dumbfounded voice, Why do you want my technique? And you should know that this technique isn't for sale, and even if it were for sale, it cannot be learned by just anyone. Furthermore, we both know that you're not suitable for this soul cultivation technique, so why would you want to learn it? Who said anything about using it for myself? I am giving it to someone. Xu Jiaqi said. Lady Xiang only became even more baffled after hearing such words. I owe him a great debt and I promise to give him the best soul cultivation technique that I can find. If you're not willing to sell it to me, then I can only find another soul cultivation technique for him. This person. Is he your lover? Lady Xiang couldn't help but ask, her eyes filled with curiosity. No. He's just a junior. Xu Jiaqi calmly said. Is that so? How boring. Anyways, I doubt this person is capable of learning my soul cultivation technique, since only someone born with immense soul strength could possibly learn it. In the entire 9 heavens? No, in the last 10 million years only 3 people have been capable of learning this technique, myself being one of them. You won't know it until you try it. This junior, he's immensely talented and has the potential to surpass us. Please. Lady Xiang narrowed her eyes on Xu Jiaqi, who had her head slightly lowered in a pleading manner. I have never seen you care so much about someone before, Lady Xu. If you tell me why you're going through all of this trouble, even lowering your head and begging me, I will consider it. Xu Jiaqi took a deep breath and said, I can tell you under one condition. You will not say a word about his identity to anyone. In fact, you'll act as though he doesn't even exist. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. I accept your condition. Xu Jiaqi nodded and said, This junior was the one who found my father's legacy, the god of war's astral arts. In exchange for it, I promised to give him a soul cultivation technique. Lady Xiang raised an eyebrow after hearing this information. That's it? I was anticipating something more exciting. Also, he's just a junior who managed to stumble upon your ancestor's legacy. You could have easily forced him to give you the legacy without needing to make such a promise. At least that's what most people in the gathering today would have done if they were in your shoes. Are you looking down on me? As if I would do something that low and despicable. Xu Jiaqi sneered. Lady Xiang smiled. I am just joking. Are you going to help me or what? I've already lowered my head for you. If you think I will do it for a second time, a serious expression appeared on Lady Xiang's face as she spoke. Since we're friends and I do owe you a favor, I will give this junior a chance to learn my soul cultivation technique. However, this doesn't mean it will be free. Whether or not this junior is capable of learning the technique or not, you'll still have to pay. How much do you want? Xu Jiaqi asked. Who said anything about money? I want you to do something for me. A cold smile appeared on Lady Xiang's face. Xu Jiaqi frowned. What are you plotting? You see, a certain group of people have been harassing me and my family recently. I'm sure you've heard about them. I would love to deal with them myself, but I do not have the capability. If you want me to give this junior a chance to learn my soul cultivation technique, you will have to help me deal with these people. Do you understand what I am saying? The frown on Xu Jiaqi's face deepened. You want me to destroy the Sky Whales faction? She mumbled in a dumbfounded voice. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. C1063 Limitless Bloodlust. Chapter 1063 Limitless Bloodlust. The Sky Whales faction is a top 50 faction in the entire 9 heavens, not to mention that within their alliance there is a top 10 faction. I cannot attack them without any reasons, especially considering my faction's reputation. You're asking for the impossible. Xu Jiaqi said with a deep frown on her face. I am well aware of your faction's reputation. Celestial Overlord, the #1 righteous faction in the 9 heavens and also a top 3 faction. However, who said anything about attacking the Sky Whales faction without a reason? If you want a reason, I will give you one. The current leader of the Sky Whales faction, Immortal Tongshi, is actually a heretic, a demon worshipper. What? Xu Jiaqi's eyes widened with shock. Where did you get that information? I swear, if you're lying to convince me to attack them, if you don't believe me, go investigate it yourself. I will even give you my sources. Also, have you forgotten my identity? Do you think I would lie to you about something like this? Xu Jiaqi narrowed her eyes and pondered. If it's true that Immortal Tongshi is a demon worshipper, we have all the right to execute him. I will let you know my decision in a week after I am finished with my investigation, Xu Jiaqi said a moment later. Take all the time you need. Lady Xiang smiled. Xu Jiaqi left the villa shortly after. Meanwhile, Yuan looked through the 5th floor of the myriad of technique after returning. Most of the techniques on the 5th floor were divine rank cultivation techniques, and although there were a few interesting ones, none of them were really appealing enough for him to learn. After looking through all of the techniques, Yuan met up with Meishio and the others. Did you guys find anything you like? He asked. I didn't. Chu Liuxiang shook her head and she continued, I am still learning the techniques I acquired the last time we came here. Also, none of the techniques here suit me. Me too, Meishio said. Oh. I found one that I like, but it's a divine rank technique, Li Jinsi said. Oh, what kind of technique is it? Yuan asked, his interest piqued. It's called Limitless Bloodlust. It allows me to grow stronger with every magical beast that I kill. I think this is a very fitting technique for me, she said. Oh, that sounds very similar to my innate ability that allows me to grow stronger as I consume my enemies, Lan Yingying said. Indeed, and it's the perfect technique for someone like you. Yuan smiled. If there's nothing else, let's check out, he then said. Sometime later they went to pay for the Li Jinsi's technique. This technique will cost you 70 million spirit stones, the young man behind the desk said. 70 million spirit stones? Yuan's eyebrows twitched when he heard the price tag. I have underestimated the price of a divine rank technique. However, even if it's a divine rank technique, isn't it a little too expensive? Yuan wondered to himself. When the young man saw Yuan's frozen expression, he smiled and explained, this technique may be a divine rank technique, but its potential is actually closer to ancient rank, hence why it's so much more expensive than the average divine rank technique. 70 million spirit stones is too much, Yuan. I appreciate the thought, but I cannot let you spend that much money on me, Li Jinsi said with a bittersweet smile on her face. Clearly she liked the technique very much and would be disappointed to not acquire it, but she didn't want to be unreasonable, nor could she afford it by herself. Feng Yuxiang glanced at Li Jinx for a second before speaking. I'll pay for it. Everyone there turned to look at her. Why would you? Li Jinsi asked with a puzzled look on her face. You're my young master's precious friend, and I cannot allow him to lose face over something like this, Feng Yuxiang said with her body emanating a prideful aura. Yuan didn't object to this and said, I will pay you back as soon as possible, Feng. After all, he also believed that this technique would benefit Li Jinsi greatly and wanted her to have it. Sometime later, Feng Yuxiang paid 70 million spirit stones to the young man. After counting it, he handed the technique over to Li Jinsi. Good luck. Thank you, Madam Feng. Thank you, Yuan. I will not forget this debt. Li Jinsi bowed to them after they left the myriad of techniques. Don't mention it. Feng Yuxiang smiled. What are we going to do now, Yuan? Chu Liuxiang asked him. I am going to visit Tian Chenya's old home, he said. If you don't mind, I want to cultivate this new technique, Li Jinsi suddenly said as she could barely hold her excitement. Yuan nodded, sure. I'm sure there's a cultivator's haven in this city. Let's stop by that place first then. After asking for directions, they went straight to the cultivator's haven. Yuan helped Li Jinsi pay for their best room. Yuan, I would also like to cultivate by myself for a while. Meishio suddenly said, I have been ignoring my cultivation in this world for a while now, and I don't want to be too far behind and become a burden. When she heard Meixia's words, Chu Liuxiang also decided to stay behind. Then I will stay as well. I don't mind. How long do you guys want to cultivate? Yuan asked them. How does 2 weeks sound? Li Jinsi said. All right. Then I will come get you guys in 2 weeks. Yuan nodded. In the end, he rented 3 of the best rooms in the cultivator's haven for 2 weeks. See you in 2 weeks, Yuan. The ladies said to him before going into their respective rooms to cultivate. They'll see you guys later. Yuan left the cultivator's haven shortly after. Now then, let's go visit my old home, shall we? A smile appeared on Yuan's face as he began approaching Tian Chenya's home. C1064 Tian Family? Chapter 1064 Tian Family. After leaving Meishio and the others in the cultivator's haven to train, Yuan made his way to Tian Chenya's home. However, he quickly realized a problem. It's been millions of years since then, and this city clearly has gone through many changes. The chances of my old home being in the same location is probably zero. After pondering for some time, Yuan decided to check the place just in case it was still there. Sometime later he arrived at the location of Tian Chenya's home, or where it was supposed to be. However, it was quickly made clear to Yuan that his home no longer existed. This location that used to be Tian Chenya's home has been replaced by a restaurant. Yuan sighed. I knew it was pointless. After all, millions of years have passed since Tian Chenya's era. There's no way his home would still be here after so long. Don't give up, brother Yuan, Xiaohua said to him. He smiled. You're right. I shouldn't give up so quickly. He approached the restaurant a moment later. Welcome to the heavenly restaurant. How many guests? The waitress at the front asked when they entered the building. Hello, this may be sudden, but I have a question. Do you know anything about the Tian family that used to live here? If my memories serve me right, this place used to be their home. Yuan asked the waitress with a handsome smile on his face, which made it hard for her to refuse. Yes, I know of the Tian family. In fact, they are the owners of this restaurant. The waitress said a moment later. Really? Where can I find them? I would like to speak with them. Oh. What relationship do you have with the Tian family? They're not really friendly with strangers. The waitress asked him. Our ancestors knew each other, and my ancestor owed the Tian family a favor, so I am going to return that favor in my ancestor's stead. Yuan calmly said. If that's the case, let me give you the Tian family's current address. The waitress nodded. Sometime later, Yuan left the restaurant and went to the location given to him by the waitress. So this is where the Tian family of this generation resides. Yuan mumbled to himself as he stood before the residence of the Tian family. The building looked nothing like the one in his memories, but he still felt a nostalgic feeling from it for some reason, almost as though he instinctively knew he belonged here. He approached the front doors and knocked on it with Xiaohua by his side. A few moments later, an old woman opened the doors and stepped outside. What do you want? The old lady had an unfriendly aura around her, and she looked a little angry for some reason. If you're from the Lin family, then you can turn around because the young lady won't see any of you. Yuan raised an eyebrow at her behavior, but he remained calm and spoke. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I am here on behalf of my ancestor who owes a great debt to the Tian family. The old lady sneered at his words and said, That's the worst excuse so far. Even a dog could come up with a better story than you. Now scram, dogs from the Lin family. But I am not from the Lin family. Tian Xinyu, do you know of this name? Yuan said with a stiff smile on his face. Tian Xinyu? The old lattice eyes widened with shock. How do you know of this name? Who are you? I apologize for the late introduction. My name is Yuan. I have recently learned that my ancestors owed a great debt to the Tian family, but he was unable to repay that debt before he passed away, so I came here to repay his debt for him. If there's anything I can do for the Tian family, don't hesitate to ask me. Since they were technically his family and Tian Xinyu never really got the chance to help his family, as he was too busy dealing with demons, Yuan decided to assist the Tian family instead. Please wait here for a minute. Since I am just a caretaker, I cannot let you in by myself. I will go speak with the head of the family right now. The old lady bowed to Yuan before closing the door. Yuan proceeded to wait outside. Meanwhile, inside the residence, the old lady walked past a bronze statue in the middle of the garden to speak with a middle-aged man. What? Someone is here to return a debt? The middle-aged man raised his eyebrows after hearing this. Yes, and he claims that his ancestors knew our ancestors. How foolish. Do you really believe that? He's probably using that as an excuse to intrude on our family. Let him be. The middle-aged man casually waved his hand. But he knew the name of our ancestor, Tian Xinyu? The old lady saved this information for last. What? Why didn't you say this sooner? Nobody outside the family should know his name. And since we've all taken an oath to never reveal this name to anybody outside the family, there's no way an outsider would know about it. Although most people in the Nine Heavens forgot about Tian Chenya's name, the Tian family never forgot it. In fact, Tian Chenya's family made it so that all descendants are required to remember this name and pass it down to their children, which has become their tradition. However, they also made everyone swear an oath to never reveal Tian Chenya's real identity to outsiders or they would die a horrible death. The middle-aged man and the old lady left the room shortly after. Sometime later they brought Yuan and Xiao Hua into their residence. Once they were all seated, the middle-aged man said to the old lady, "Go bring us some tea." "I understand." The old lady bowed to them before leaving the room. Chapter 1065. Published at 23rd of July 2022 5:57 and 15 seconds p.m. Chapter 1065. 1065 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1065 Tian Family 2. Once the old lady left, the middle-aged man turned to look at Yuan and continued, "My name is Tian Xinzu, the head of this humble family. May I know your background and what you know about the name Tian Xinyu?" Tian Xinzu asked him with a friendly smile. He nodded and said, "Honestly, I don't know much about Tian Xinyu. I only learned of this name in a note left behind by one of my ancestors. I also don't know how long ago this note was written, but I firmly believe that no matter how much time passes, a debt will never go away on its own." Tian Xinzu pondered for a moment before asking, "Do you know how your ancestor became indebted to our ancestor?" "I don't." "Then do you have the note with you?" "Unfortunately, the note is very fragile and on the verge of breakdown, so I didn't dare to bring it with me." Tian Xinzu narrowed his eyes slightly with a pondering look on his face. It was obvious that he didn't fully trust Yuan, as his story sounded a little too convenient and suspicious. "The tea is ready." The old lady returned with the tea. After pouring all of them a cup, she left the teapot on the table. "Bring my daughter here," Tian Xinzu suddenly said to the old lady. "The young lady?" The old lady seemed hesitant, her reason being the same as Tian Xianzu's reason. "Yes. I understand." The old lady left again. "I will decide if we can trust him after I see his reaction to my daughter," Tian Xinzu thought to himself. He was thinking that if Yuan had any interior motives, he would see it the moment Yuan meets with his daughter. Yuan casually sipped on the tea and didn't utter a single word for the next few minutes. He understood their situation, that the Tian family was having doubts about his identity, which he couldn't blame because they were right to doubt someone as suspicious as him. In fact, he would also be suspicious if he were in their shoes, and if he speaks or tries to convince them that he's not there to harm them, that would only make him more suspicious. Sometime later, Yuan could hear two sets of footsteps approaching the room. A few moments later, a beautiful young lady who looked to be a little older than Yuan entered the room. She had a tall and slender figure. Her hair was pitch black and tied into a hair bun behind her head. Her face looked gentle yet fierce at the same time, and her clear brown eyes shone with brightness. Xiao Hua and the other two inside Yuan's body were surprised when they saw this young woman, but it was not because of her beauty. No, they were surprised by her facial features that resembled Yuan but looked way more feminine, almost as though she was Yuan's twin sister. In fact, with the help of makeup, Yuan could definitely become this young woman and vice versa. However, just like Tian Xinzu, Yuan didn't notice their resemblance. "Let me introduce you to my daughter, Tian Yinyu. Yinyu, this is our guest Yuan." "Hello." She gave him a courteous nod. "It's nice to meet you. I'm Yuan and I came here to repay a debt that my ancestors owed to your family. If there's anything you need help with, don't hesitate to let me know." Yuan said to her with a gentle smile on his face. "Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters." Tian Yinyu clearly wasn't expecting such a reason for his visit, but she didn't complain. After a moment of silence, she spoke again. "You'll help us with anything?" Yuan nodded. "As long as it's within my power, I will do my best to help you." A cold look suddenly appeared on Tian Yanyu's face as she spoke. "Then help me erase the Lin family from this world." "Yinyu?" Tian Xinzu immediately frowned at her words. "The Lin family? The first time I've heard about them is when your caretaker mistook me for them. Who are they? And what have they done to deserve this punishment?" Yuan asked her. "You've never heard of the Lin family? How is that possible? They're one of the biggest families in this world. They're one of the 7 legacy families." The old lady exclaimed. "Actually, I'm not from around this area, but I have heard of the 7 legacy families." Yuan said. "The Lin family has been harassing and bullying my family for the last 4 years because I refused to become their oldest son's woman," Tian Yinyu said with a disgusted look on her face. "So it's that kind of situation, huh?" Yuan sighed inwardly. "So can you help us or not? If you can't, then we don't need your help at all." Tian Yinyu stared at him with slightly narrowed eyes. Yuan didn't immediately respond and began pondering. "You don't have to mind her unreasonable request, Yuan. Although it's true that the Lin family has been harassing us, there's nothing we can do about it." Yuan sighed out loud before speaking. "It's fine. I don't mind it." He turned to look at Tian Yinyu and continued, I don't mind helping you with the Lin family, but I cannot do something like slaughter them, not because I don't have the power to. I'm just not fond of unnecessary bloodshed. The Tian family's eyes widened with shock after they heard Yuan's words, mostly because he casually claimed that he had the power to destroy the Lin family. How about this? I will get the Lin family to stop harassing your family and stop pestering you. Would that be helpful enough? Yuan said as he looked directly at Tian Yanyu. If you can really do that, Tian Yanyu nodded in a dazed manner as she didn't really expect him to agree to her request. After all, they were going against one of the 7 legacy families, an untouchable force for most people. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.